Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of the AV Experience. I'm your host, Ryan, joined today by Jonathan Archaea on AVS Forums. It's been a while since we've been on. When were we last on? What were we talking about? It's been
Maybe
a
we've
couple
missed
weeks.
a couple weeks because we had the projector shootout,
Yeah.
and then we had. I think I was away last weekend, so that's a couple
Mm-hmm.
weeks at least.
Mm-hmm. We talked about the projector shootout, though, didn't we?
Not
Yes.
yet, but we probably should wait unless you guys did. I didn't.
Maybe we did. I don't even remember. It's been that long. Maybe we should wait for Bob. We'll wait for
We
Bob.
probably should wait for
I
Bob.
think we talked about it. Today, we're going to talk about the amazing, should have won a Grammy, should have won an Oscar, Battlefield Earth, one of the best cinematic experiences ever. Fantastic movie, especially if you're into platform shoes.
Why is that so?
I don't know.
So much layer on it.
And then we're going to talk about our favorite demo clips, which...
Did Battlefield Earth make the cut for you on your favorite demo list?
You know, shockingly, it didn't. It did not. Let's just jump right into Battlefield Earth, and then we'll come back and find out. I want to know how you've been, Jonathan. But let's talk about Battlefield Earth. It was, I texted to you, terribly terrific, or terrifically terrible, something along the... You get what I mean. It was so bad, I enjoyed it. And it wasn't my first time watching it.
But how many times have you watched it, do you think?
5.
And when's the last time you watched it?
A couple years ago.
Oh, so this is like a little creature comfort for you, like a little southern food. You like it.
Maybe. I mean, if I see it and I'm like, I got nothing better to do and I want to kill a few of my brain cells, I'll turn it on. It may be a reason why Kaleidoscape does not have this movie. I had to rent it from Prime, and it was... I forgot how bad it was. It
has a 3% score on Rotten Tomatoes. 3.
I think even that may be too high. It is. I don't think it has a single redeeming quality. No, maybe the absurdity of the costumes and the absurdity of the Cyclone language. That might be a redeeming quality. But there's nothing about it. Like at the very beginning, I laughed out loud. I was sitting in the theater watching it by myself, and I laughed loudly when the woman, I don't remember any of the characters' names, tells the main character that his dad died, and he gets upset and throws a rock while yelling. And I'm like, what cinematic direction did that take to go, all right, I want you to stand here and I want you to think about something that'll make you really angry. And I want you to throw this rock. And he's not even fully framed. Like it's just his shoulder. That's all you really see. And then they put in this sound effect of the rock throwing, and it was just...
No, whoever that actor is, he's really bad.
The whole thing was bad.
All the actors are bad. The entire show
is full of bad actors. In there, though, that came out later. I mean, there's... Rat Brain, yes. Oh, gosh. That movie. But I said I wasn't going to kill him, and then he hands the remote off, and... Was there anything redeeming for you?
No. In fact, I thought it was like 2 hours of my laser I'll never get back. On my projector.
That's bad. Like, that's saying something, because we don't even have bulbs anymore. It's just, well, I'm never getting that back on my laser.
It tried hard. And at first, when I fired it up, I haven't watched it in probably 20 years, maybe 15.
Intro.
And maybe I've only ever seen it once because I got it at like a going out of business sale at a DVD store around like Raytown, and I didn't even know what it was. Right?
Where did you buy it?
I bought it. It's from a Hollywood Video. So I watched it 20 years ago or whatever. I didn't think it was like terrible at the time. I remember reading reviews were really terrible after I brought it home.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't think it was terrible. I thought it was terrible this time. Like I don't know,
pretty bad.
My tastes have matured or something. It's bad.
It's really bad. I liked it when John Travolta is showing them that he can shoot and he
Yes.
just starts blowing off the cow's legs.
Yes. But they don't show any of that. It's all
Just
off
one,
screen.
just one. They showed it once, and then all you hear is just him shooting in different ways, and you just hear the cows getting mutilated in the
He
back.
even throws a behind the back shot in there.
Yeah,
It's,
he
like,
does.
so cheesy. It's so cheesy.
What do their guns even shoot? Like
I
plasma rods?
Well, they have a little dial on it to change between lethal and, like, acoustic
I'm
wave.
gonna
I don't
change
know.
it from kill to stun. They
Mm.
don't really say that, but that's what I thought when he twitched the
Pretty
dial.
much they did say it, and just like that, with that
And
much
it wasn't even like a cool dial. It looked like something that was on a toaster that they turned it. But the best thing about the entire movie is the shoes. The
Wait a minute.
shoes. The Cyclone's shoes.
I don't know that I
They're
even
all
noticed.
platforms. They're like 8
Oh, yeah,
inches
yeah, yeah.
tall.
Oh, yeah. They were
Oh,
all little short stilts, I think is what it amounts to. I thought you were talking about, like, a specific shoe. Yeah, I think those guys are all just walking around on, like 2-foot stilts.
I think so
And they
too.
and they look as wooden as if they are doing that.
Oh, oh man. That
It's one of those movies too. I don't know if you noticed this. Did you have frame interpolation on your system?
yeah.
So there's certain movies that frame interpolation really makes the CGI look terrible,
Oh yeah.
and this is one of those.
There was parts in that movie when even the opening where he's riding the horse, I couldn't even tell if that was a person. Like it was just this peach blob moving
Yeah,
in a white blob. And
yeah.
I couldn't tell what it was. And that brings me to think of the horse. The most emotional that he got during the entire movie was
Was
when
when
the
the
horse
horse,
died.
but it didn't die. It was back in the movie a
Oh,
little bit
yeah.
later.
It was
I was
just
like,
all
"What
of
in
a
the
sudden
world?"
back. Just maybe it got its leg blown off like one of the cows and they just Frankenstein the leg. I don't even know.
It was so strange. There was a lot of little, like, you had
I
to
don't
really
even
turn your
know.
brain off for this one.
Uh,
Yeah.
that I think we need to bring. That should be one of the movies that everyone has to
Oh,
watch clips
no.
of for the crawl.
Oh, no.
Which person's theater does the best with the horse riding across in the opening?
Oh, man. Well, I ended up turning off frame interpolation, and I've only done that with maybe, like, 2 movies in my entire Epson lifespan of 3
Oh
years.
man.
But I turned it off because it made the CGI so bad, and then it was tolerable after that, like, the CGI was
It
tolerable.
was
It's not good, but it
no,
wasn't like, "This is ridiculous
it
bad."
was who was your favorite character?
I mean, John Travolta's character is probably the best one in there, but it's still terrible.
Yeah. He's
You
probably the
want
best
you
actor.
want to like his like, character anyway, or at least, like, think it's fun to have John Travolta in such a terrible movie, but
I liked his sidekick, whatever the black guy's name is. I don't even remember his name.
he kept calling
That
him fool the whole movie and so
that
forth.
tried to like double cross him when he didn't give him the picture. So, what was your favorite moment? And then we'll move on to something else because there's not anything good to talk about with this
No,
movie.
there's not. I don't know that there is a favorite moment in that movie. It's just not very good.
No.
Here's
No.
one thing I did find out. Like, when it first fired up, I thought, "Man, there's a lot of bass in this. This'll be fun." But it wasn't good bass, and the dynamics from the cinema music, I often, like, get really enthralled by the cinema score. The cinema score had, like, almost getting there and then not quite, but they turned it to 11. So so even though it wasn't good, you got a lot of it. I mean, it was really a loud score. Not memorable anyway. I couldn't even hum it today. Like, not good. But they tried. They they they
I
they
don't
saw
even know that they tried.
they
It
tried for this epic movie and it fell
it
flat.
may have been just something. Well, I made this thing and failed with it when I was in art school. And I looked back on it and thought it was really bad. Maybe we could use that. That's kind of what this felt like.
Did you like how their fingers were always, like, kinda straight because they couldn't bend it all since they had those big gloves on? And every once in a while, you'd see a finger, like, do that little rubber
Yes. And
mechanic.
their fingernails were like 6 inches long or whatever they were. Oh man.
Yeah.
Oh, what a
Mm.
I like how the humans, what are they?
Man animals.
Man animals always kind of grunted.
Yeah. Well, that's what I think they were pretending like that's what they would hear. I would assume it was like kind of monkeys at the zoo. Like they were
Oh.
hearing the man grunting, but we were talking. Humans were talking.
Well, I
That's
felt like there was grunting going on when the two men of God met the main character at the
mhm,
dinosaur park.
mhm.
What a weird. We're going to open the movie and he's going to go to a dinosaur mini golf thing and then he's going to try and eat the plastic.
No, it never even really tied in. Like that whole like kind of like disparate cult groups of humans. It never really went anywhere. It
No,
was like an
no,
introduction piece
no,
only.
no. It was just bad. It was just bad. Okay.
And then the other group of humans was always there, just like we're here to help you. You know, like this. They just show up.
Uh,
Plot contrivances show up, and they're there
all well.
whenever they're needed.
All well.
Only one actor in there besides John Travolta did I recognize, and I think it was like one of the sidekicks from their kind of like little core group of humans that went out to mine. What he had dark hair and kind of like a lot of charisma. What was that guy's? Do you know who I'm talking
I
about?
don't even know.
Longer hair, like Jesus
I've
hair.
forgotten the entire movie already.
The gold bar scene when he comes back from Fort Knox. You had time to smelt this gold? Like, no, that's so bad, man.
None of the movie made sense.
And they can track them to the nth degree with the cameras all over the place, but they don't find them flying all over the place with their ships that would actually have the tracking system on it. Like they had free pass for the 7 days they were out there, the 14 days initially and the 7 days later to go anywhere they wanted. Like it doesn't make any
Don't
sense when you
know.
start thinking through it.
They know something we don't. They know something we don't. Okay. Well, enough about Battlefield Earth. How was your weekend? How have you been since last I saw you? You went to Silver Dollar City,
My first time. I really enjoyed it.
which is where Bob is right now.
Yeah.
Am I going there next week?
You should. Really a fun park. I
I
hadn't
do
been there.
enjoy Silver Dollar City.
Yeah. A lot of nice rides, a lot of themes that are cool. Glass blowing, metallurgy, like blacksmiths, all that kind of stuff.
Anything else?
No, we had fun. It was with a church group, and I was one of the drivers. And I brought my PA equipment with my soundboard and 6 microphones, and we did some karaoke one night, and we had a blast. That was a lot of fun.
Before you said one night, I thought you hooked it up in the van while you were going, and that's
No,
you were singing tunes while driving.
at the condo. This is kind of a funny little story. We got the address, and I went and looked it up on Zillow, and it said max capacity 22 with a kid 23. And there's 35 of us going, and I I mentioned to the youth minister, I said, "Did you realize there's a max capacity down there?" And he's like, "Wink, wink, yeah, but they didn't ask, and we're not going to say anything." And I was just thinking, like, 50% more people in that thing.
I
He
could
said,
understand a few, but 50%.
I laughed, and it didn't cause any trouble or anything, but the sleeping arrangements were funny. The men were in the basement and the females were on the upstairs floor, and it was crowded. There was not enough room for 35 people. There's like 5 people in the closet-sized bedroom and stuff, But whatever.
Fire
Fun.
marshal.
Something they'll remember.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So topic. I didn't do anything interesting. I've got Jason from formerly AV Pro Edge and Meridio, now with Mad VR, coming next week, and we're going to deal a lot with HDMI. So hopefully we can figure some stuff out. I don't know. We'll probably hate each other by the end because HDMI does mean things to people. But
what are you doing with HDMI?
We're going to test a bunch of cables, and we've got some testers and different. We want to try and find a magic combination if one exists. Maybe we're believing in fairy tales. I don't know.
For your Mad VR system or for what?
Just in general. Because a lot of cables suck. A lot of devices suck. So we got that. We're going to see where that goes. That's all I got. I got
Find
nothing
a
else
matrix
exciting.
switch that doesn't suck. That'd be nice for our shootouts where we don't have a thing blinking. Which it turned out okay by the end of the night, but it started kind of rough.
The MX88, not the X, but the one I use works great. I don't have any problems.
Something was goofing up with the Sony at that shootout for us. It cleaned up towards the end of the night when we kind of stopped putting the Sony in rotation. But remember, it kept cutting the Sony out.
I don't remember that.
Oh, yeah.
I don't remember that. I was in my own world eating too much pizza. But tonight's topic is demo clips. We've talked about this a long time ago, and you brought up that you thought it would be a good topic. So, is there a specific clip that you're wanting to mention, or a
Yeah,
reason
man,
that
I
you
was
wanted to
just
bring it
thinking,
up?
like, we both have
Battlefield
had
Earth,
a
isn't
lot
it?
of people in our house, in our rooms, right, over the course of time, and just
Yeah.
kind of like talk through, like, what are you using your rotation? What has staying power? What has come and gone? Like, what do you think is great to show off your theater? What's your staple?
Well, I want to know, what is the clip. Let's start here. What is the clip that gets the most oohs and ahs and oh my, and that was the best out of anything you've shown?
The single best clip I've
The
probably ever
single
had for that
best.
is probably Mad Max Fury Road intro. I just have so many people like light up and just like, whoa, wow, I've never seen anything like that type thing with that intro. It's intense, super dynamic, kind of crazy stuff happening. You don't really know where it's going, especially if you haven't seen the movie before. It's got that little like cut to the logo thing at the end where it's like Mad Max Fury Road, and it's so loud and so
Mm-hmm.
bassy.
Mm-hmm.
It's got good use of Atmos, like at least that particular intro section does. It's a really cool clip.
It is.
What about for you?
Mine, I've got two. One is Godzilla versus Kong in Tokyo.
Mm-hmm.
It just, people haven't seen a monster fight like that before. We all know it's Jonathan's favorite movie, and we cannot get him to turn it off, unfortunately.
Oh no, this is lies now.
Cannot get him to turn it off. But that's mainly for the video, I think, because it showcases HDR, dynamic tone mapping, and highlights, and it does it
And
really well.
headlight in your face brightness.
Oh yeah, stupid bright. So that one, and then the other one that is just everything is Imagine Dragons Radioactive.
That's a really cool clip.
It is. I think it's only SDR. It's not even HDR.
Mm-hmm.
It's only SDR, but it brings everything in. I think the visuals, the audio, the upper frequencies, the lower frequencies, the infra. It's everything. Now, some of the guys in chat are saying, when we were talking about Battlefield Earth, almost as good as Slam Dunk Ernest. Do not disparage Ernest. Okay, he is one of the best actors. I don't even know who does him, but one of the best actors of all time. I remember growing up watching Ernest. Did you watch Ernest?
I did.
Oh man,
I really liked him too.
I like
I
Ernest.
still enjoy it. We watched some of them with the kids not that long ago.
There you go. And then Finster says back on the demo, what about the rocket launch scene from Interstellar?
That's another really good one, and I have a lot of acclaim with that one as well.
But would you call it?
Yours?
I've done it, and I've done Into the Wormhole and stuff. I just feel like they're kind of one-hit wonders, right? There's not a lot of dynamics with them. It's just, and then that's
Well, the dynamic is when it stops doing that, and all of a sudden it's just quiet, and you're like still vibrating because it was so bassy for the last 3 minutes.
But your ears are bleeding.
Well, I mean, to be fair, like a lot of people that have come over to my theater in repeat time, they'll say like, "Hey, you got to play the Interstellar clip for this, other guest who hasn't experienced your theater." So that is a fan favorite.
It is a fun one.
Uh-huh.
And I think it harkens me back to when the Apple TV remote was broken in your room, where it's just like, oh my gosh, this is loud.
Do you have any secret sauce? I have a little secret sauce on that one.
On what, Interstellar?
Yeah, no, on any demo clips.
I don't change anything.
I do sometimes. So this is my secret sauce on that one. During the countdown, I'll start that one at about -5. And I'll start it when they're in the bedroom talking and she's like throws the watch because she's mad and there's kind of a little emotion there to kind of build up the scene. I'll start that at -5. And as they count down the 10 to 0, I'll click up every time he announces like 10, 9, I'll click up the remote volume a half a notch for each number. So that they should have built that into the movie because it's a really cool effect. That's already getting louder dynamically anyway. Well, I'm turning it up 5 dB at the same time that's happening very slowly.
Cheating.
And it's really pretty. It's pretty
cheating.
Effective.
Cheating.
Try it.
I'm gonna make you hide the remote now. I don't.
It's pretty fun.
I'm not gonna have any hearing.
So by the time the shuttle's launching, it's at full reference.
I'm going to mistake it, and mine's going to go up in increments of 5 instead of half. And I'm going to be at like plus 30 by the time I'm at the bottom, because my reference is at negative 22.
Oh yeah,
so I'm going to be up like I don't even know, something ridiculous on accident. It'll get stuck and it'll just go all the way up. Something bad would happen if I did something like that. I don't even know. Do you cheat anywhere else? Am I going to have to look at you and see if you've got some pencil that you turn while the clip's going? Cheating?
No, I mean, there's a couple clips that you turn up a little bit as it gets into the clip and stuff. One of them is Mad Max. When it gets to, I'll play that one at -3 a lot of times, and when it gets to the Mad Max logo at the very end, I'll play that at 0, like the actual logo, the overlays. And that, I mean, that just kind of like gives a little bit more dynamic, because you get used to a certain level and then you just give it a little bit more. And I have my receiver limited to 0, so I don't ever go beyond 0.
Hey guys, I know your ears are bleeding now, but we're going to make them bleed more.
It's just fun. You get people look at you like, whoa.
Don't let Jonathan do demos for you.
You know,
Dynamic range on speaker A, mute.
I know it.
Dynamic range on speaker B, 100. Mute versus 100.
No, I don't do that with shootouts. But I know with a product called J River, it's like a media player.
Yeah.
You can set timestamps and change the volume on the media player automatically in the clip. And so
that's nice.
I've been told that there's people that do that kind of stuff with it. I've never messed with that. But then you're not having to man the remote, you know, like it can be hands off. Like it's just set. And there's nothing, you might say, you might in a purist say it's cheating, but it really is just like, it's the art of the demo.
That's what a cheater would say.
It's just like mastering the performance and adding your own flair to the dynamics.
Whatever. Cheater. So your go-tos, the ones that everybody's in awe of, are Mad Max Fury Road.
And the Interstellar launch, probably.
Interstellar launch.
That's not, the Interstellar launch isn't even necessarily my favorite. It just seems to have a lot of reaction.
What's your favorite demo?
I probably like, and this is going to sound silly from an adult man, but I like the How to Train Your Dragon demo where they're flying into the cave.
Yeah, that was one of the first ones you showed me. I still remember seeing that when I was over at your house.
Sure. It's got that waterfall, like as they're going into World's End at the beginning, that's so much rumble. You're just sitting in a chair doing this with the transducers and everything. And then it goes real peaceful and serene. And there's all these vivid colors on there. I mean, I think it's fantastic. I don't even have that in 4K. It's just 1080p and it's still fantastic. Like it's a Blu-ray rip.
Are you ready for the live action version?
Yeah, I don't mess it up. You know, like I really think the cartoon series was wonderful. I hope they don't mess it up.
Yeah, I hope so too.
How do you, I mean, that's already like one of the top animated movies for me.
I saw a trailer for it.
Did it look okay?
Yeah, it did, actually. They showed it at CinemaCon, and the visuals looked really good.
Do you sort of feel like sometimes stuff like that should just be left alone when it's already so good? Is there a real reason to do it besides cash grab stuff? I mean, is it ever better?
Dredd was better.
Then what? What was the original Dredd?
With Stallone.
Oh. Yeah, okay. Touche.
Okay, yeah, that happened. Sometimes they are. Like, I don't know. I can't think of any other ones, so maybe we'll just leave it at that. Terminator?
Which, yes, multiple Terminators.
I'm omitting anything after Terminator 2, but Terminator to Terminator 2.
Terminator 2, the minigun scene used to be one of my go-tos.
The whole second movie is better, I think, than the first one.
But there is some stuff in the new Terminators that's nice, like the bridge flip where the bus flips.
I'm not saying they don't have nice things. I'm saying cinematically, the entire movie, I think, is just better.
Yeah.
So they're sometimes trying to think. Home Alone, maybe.
No,
I like the second one more than the first one. Lost in New York.
No.
Okay.
No.
Maybe I'm wrong.
Which one do you watch every Thanksgiving? It's not the second one in our family.
It is.
It's really.
It's always the second one.
Huh.
You're just wrong. Chat, which one do you like? Home Alone 1 or 2? The third one doesn't matter. 1 or 2. Third, after that, they don't exist. But 1 or 2.
The one with a totally different actor is actually pretty good. It has the older brother. What's his name
Yeah,
from the first movie? He's the cop in the one I'm thinking of. I don't remember the name of that one, but we've watched it a couple times and it's pretty fun.
there any other good ones that were better? Tron Legacy than the original Tron?
Look at Anthony saying the Stallone Dread was so much better.
What?
Anthony,
No.
I don't know about
No. I'm going to ban you.
that.
I'm getting here we go. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not going to ban you. But no. The second Dread. Amazing stuff. You're just wrong. 2 by a hair. So there it's split. It's a split decision. So we'll just say since they're split that I was right.
Oh, I see how that works.
Yeah, that's how it works.
So somebody else mentioned on favorite clip, someone mentioned Gravity, which that's always on my list too.
That is really good.
For years and years, it's been on my list.
If you want to showcase to somebody why Atmos is important, that's a great one to show because it utilizes Atmos to its full effect. But back to us talking about demos. So your favorite overall is How to Train Your Dragon.
That's probably my personal favorite. You know, another one that I do every time. Oh, go ahead. You had a question about that one.
I was just going to have a follow-up of, is that the clip that you would show if you wanted to showcase everything of what your system could do?
No, I would probably go to that Mad Max Fury Road because rarely, I mean, people say that one's cool, but nobody's like lit up, bouncing off the edge of their chair. You know, like you can see the excitement in their soul after that one, after that clip. But they are after that Mad Max Fury Road or the Interstellar one. Whereas on that other one, it's just like, yeah, that was really, really a well done clip. So it's not quite got the excitement, but I like it a lot. Another one that I always play, and it has not gone off the rotation probably ever since I've started playing it, is the THX Eclipse intro.
Yeah.
It's about a minute long, and it's just such a slow wind to that THX full throaty sound at the end. It takes like a whole minute to do the dynamics. At first, what I love about it is the first like 20 or 30 seconds, people are thinking like, what are we watching here? Why is this so long?
They were made so long ago, people have forgotten about them.
It just keeps getting louder and louder and louder and louder. And by the end, with the tactile transducers and everything, you're just sitting there vibrating. And it's like, it reminds of that Simpsons THX thing where like, turn it up.
And the guys' heads are exploding.
Yeah.
That is a good one. I need to bring those back to
turn it up clip. I'd like to.
I can't find it.
Yeah.
I need that. I would add that for sure. My favorites. So there's actually, it's a long one that I really like. If I'm going to showcase everything my system can do, it's going to be Imagine Dragons. Like that, just every time I show that to somebody, they're like, I need to watch more music. Or, this was just show me that at the beginning. We don't even need to look at anything else. So Imagine Dragons, Radioactive.
I watched that in the right up my invoice now. I'm ready to buy.
So Imagine Dragons. 2 that I've found that I really like that are 2 of my favorites. A Quiet Place. Not out of focus. A Quiet Place. The first one, the red light emergency when she's going into labor in the basement and they're getting into the house. That's fantastic for dynamic range, right? Because you go from really quiet and hearing things around you and the monsters coming in from above you and hearing the ticking timer off to your left, and so well done. The other one is actually from A Quiet Place Day One, the third Quiet Place, and it's a really long clip. It's about 12 minutes long, and it starts with them. Have you seen that movie?
I haven't, and I need to.
I won't ruin it. I won't ruin it for you then. It starts kind of more intimately, like it's a more intimate scene, and then it progresses into all hell breaking loose, right? So it's got kind of that whole range. I like to get clips and edit them so that they're showcasing a story, kind of a mini movie, if you will, if I can, to bring people in so it's not just a bunch of loud stuff. They're actually having something they can follow along with. So those are right now 2 of my favorites, I think, that are on rotation. It's hard to do that long one because it's so long. People may lose interest unless they're really into it, but it's, yeah.
Have you had any demo clips that you thought were really cool that didn't land with your guests? Because I've had that happen to me, even at the maybe in the last M Wave.
Music for sure. 2-channel, because it's, if the person's not into that music, it just doesn't resonate with them. With actual clips, not really. Maybe, and they just haven't told me, or I haven't noticed.
I was kind of going for, and I think thematically, I like a little longer demo clip too, because it gives you a chance to kind of get into the clip and have some emotion value with it versus just thunderous the whole time. So I had ripped out, I don't know, have you watched Invincible yet? It's the comic
Yeah, I
book.
watched it a long time ago.
So the first season, do you remember when he fights with his dad?
Oh, that Invincible. No, I
episode?
have not watched it.
It's a fantastic
I'll have
episode.
to watch
It's
it.
a
I need
great
to watch it.
show. And in that episode, there's about a 10-minute section in there where he's fighting with his dad, and it's super, super intense, and it's got some emotion to it, especially if you watched it. But I think what happened is I think I was really familiar with and really liked the series, and I lined up that 10-minute clip at one of the M-Wave things, and at the end, when I solicited some feedback, somebody's like, "Yeah, you could probably remove that one clip of Invincible."
Ooh, those are the worst.
Yeah, I mean that wasn't like they said they really loved it, but that 10-minute clip of Invincible is too long. Type
Well,
thing.
okay, people did say that about when I did the open house. It was what was that music clip I showed? It was electronic. I don't remember what it was or what the DJ was, but I probably could have done with that. Ryan in chat saw it and he could probably vouch for what it was. The song was Strobe.
Yeah, Anthony. I'm back on Anthony's team now. Look at that top comment. 2 channels, Jake, he says. You are looking on to get on that band train.
That's better.
He got rid of me, not even Anthony.
No, 2 channels where it's at. Come on, I even had Sheldon commenting about 2-channel when he was over here for the last demo.
Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna do 2-channel, your room's the one to do it in, but it's still just 2-channel at the end of the day.
Come on. Come on. A well done 2-channel.
Doesn't beat a Atmos system. I'd rather watch music in your room in Atmos than 2-channel. Oh yeah.
I don't know how I feel about that. Maybe. Ryan Kramer says Dead Mouse. Yes, it was Dead Mouse. Yeah.
Which song was it on Dead Mouse?
Strobe. Strobe. It's quite long. They were just like, it was very long and kind of the same thing over and over and over. What is the worst demo you've ever shown in your theater?
Oh, so define. What do you mean?
Just in general, looking back, you go, man, I can't believe I was using that as a demo.
Nothing comes to mind, man. What do you think?
I don't know. I don't have a good one.
I have on my NAS, I have a folder. About every 2 years, I readjust my playlist, and I have a folder going back in time from the different demo clips I played during those seasons. And another one that comes up pretty often that I used to like to use a lot was Chris Body, trumpet player. Have you seen that one? It had, can't think of her name now, attractive gal, brunette. She was the singer. I'll pull it up and look at it and tell you what it was. But that's a real fun clip, and it's got great brass. Like if you like the sound of brass, I mean, it couldn't be recorded any cleaner. 5.1. It's on a Dolby disc, I think, or DTS disc, one of the two, because it's got the logo at the bottom.
Man, Anthony's railing against 2-channel. I think, Anthony, it's a big part of that is you haven't been in a good 2-channel room.
Catherine McPhee, Chris Body in Boston with Catherine McPhee. If you haven't seen that clip, I'll have to bring it over for you sometime. It's really a neat clip. I bet it sounded great in your room.
I'll have to turn
I almost always do all the Dolby Atmos first party demos. Do you run those when you do it?
Like I haven't. I need to add them.
Amaze and
yeah, I need to add those back into rotation because they're short.
Yeah.
They're short, and I need to add more of those and get the Chernoff clips and stuff in there because the Chernoff ones, some of them are really good. You should add those. They're really good Atmos effects, like Music Machine.
I have that
1
one.
and 2.
I've
They're
had that
really
in my
good.
rotation as well. It is a good one.
It is very good at really doing everything. It uses all the channels, obviously, because that's what Trinov wants you to notice is the use of all the channels. But those are fantastic.
Agreed.
Other good clips: Top Gun. 2 scenes that are go-tos in there are 2 minutes and 15 seconds, and it's not the plane, it's the pilot, which is the scene at the very end when he gets into the dogfight. Ford versus Ferrari is also very good. Star Wars, I only have 2 scenes in Star Wars that I like. One is from, I don't even remember which, it's in the prequels. The not the depth charges, but the mines that go out.
Yes.
Just that sound, the sound's amazing. And the pod racing scene isn't bad. But my favorite demo clip in all of Star Wars is from Rogue One, and it's when Darth Vader lights up in the dark hallway. Because I feel like it just epitomizes everything that is Star Wars and that is Vader. Like, that is Darth Vader. If Disney, now that they've sold it, would have made a show that showcased Vader as being that instead of what he ended up being in the Obi-Wan series, would have been one of my favorite series of all time if it lived up. Seismic Charges. Thank you, Ryan. Other good ones are A Quiet Place. Trying to think not How to Train Your Dragon. Wild Robot has some good material in there.
I
Have you
don't know
used
anything
any of
in
those
there
yet?
that's like strictly demo worthy, though. Personally speaking, I liked the movie, but what do you showcase as your demo session for that?
Right. It's the first task when she meets the Gosling for the
Put the
first time.
stamps all over everything and so forth.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just kind of funny. It really showcases colors and brightness and that kind of stuff. It's not in your face, but I feel like a good clip.
I enjoyed the Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse demo clip where he first gets his suit and he's flying through
Yeah.
the city, and it's got good bass and a good soundtrack and excitement.
Any others?
Moonfall has multiple scenes
Oh
that are
gosh,
excellent.
Moonfall.
The audio and video on that is just top notch. The story is what it is, but the audio and video is fantastic.
I like how you say the story is what it is when the story for what it was abysmal.
The problem is,
Abysmal.
in those scenes where the audio is so good, it's constantly flipping back between them doing that stupid road chase that looks so CGI and the actual space scenes, which looks much better. So, like, to make a clip, you got to go in there and edit it and chop out the road scenes where they're doing that stupid car racing in the middle of the planet being destroyed. Like, that didn't even make it's terrible. But the space scenes sound fantastic. The thumping of that big AI thing that's like banging on the walls and stuff is guttural. And then like the scanning thing, like the little scanning symbols that come down from the AI, the from the moon basically. Those are so deep. It's really a fun clip. But you just got to be very careful what you show because otherwise it's too dumb.
Ty says Jonathan's favorite movie, Pacific Rim, hits really hard.
He didn't say that. Where's that at? No, Ty. You don't know me at all. You not one
I
bit.
heard you say that on the last stream. That's what he said. We need to go back and we need to clip that.
No, I really didn't.
Rayman with Hacksaw Ridge. That's a good one with the naval bombardment.
The Greatest Showman intro with the feet stomping on the
Yeah.
risers. It's fun, and it's got a lot of.
I think instead of doing that one though, I'd rather do Bohemian Rhapsody with We Are the Champions.
That's a good one too.
I think that's a better one with that intro, like feet, and I think it's just better done.
John Wick, the lobby or the not the lobby scene, but the
shotgun
pool scene at the first John Wick, the pool scene, and then it goes into the disco or the nightclub scene. That's great, and then the hotel assault on John Wick 3.
Do you feel like the John Wick series got progressively louder?
It got progressively worse. I think the first one has its own value as far as loudness. Like that clip we used to death for a long time and from the first John Wick, and it's still fantastic.
Battleship.
Which scene? Have I seen that? Is that
You've never seen Battleship?
Is that the one where they're like it goes back in time or something goofy?
No.
What is it?
It's a battleship fighting aliens.
No, I haven't seen that.
I mean, it's fun. It's right up there with Pacific Rim.
Nope, I wouldn't like it.
Except you're on battleships and destroyers fighting aliens.
Oh, I got another one. The Dark Knight Rises plane hijack in IMAX. Have you seen that one?
Yeah.
That clip? It has amazing sound. It really does. Watch that one again
But
at
the
reference.
visuals aren't that.
Visuals aren't amazing. It's when they're hijacking the plane. It's recorded at IMAX. It's all like real action. It's amazing, sound wise and video wise.
Speaking of Batman, the Batman, when the Batmobile starts up,
Yeah.
oh, I watched that for the first time in the Experience Center. I was giddy. I was just laughing uncontrollably when that started. My shirt was going like this.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I clipped it. Like, it was great. It was a little story chasing the penguin. Fantastic. Now, Rayman now says Fury, and I agree with him on Fury. When he goes after the tank destroyed, do you agree?
Yeah. So I used to have that in my demo rotation, but I took it out because there's so much cursing in it. Like,
yeah,
and it also kind of feels like you feel gross at the end of that. I don't want a demo clip in there where I feel gross at the end of it.
I mean,
because it's like it's really super hyper violent. It's like
cinematically, it does what it's supposed to do. It makes you feel a certain way, and it
and
was very well done.
I'm also annoyed with Fury that if you have the transducers, and probably if you even have your near field subs turned up, you'll notice that the tank treads when it kicks off, it really makes that rumble. That's really cool. And then anytime they speak, that just cuts out. So it's like it's constantly coming on and off when the tank tread's still moving or the tank is still moving, and so it feels real weird if you have it all dialed in and you're paying
Now I'm
attention.
just imagining Jonathan in the middle of Fury, watching it in the theater, and he sees that and stands up and goes, "Wrong!" and just walks.
They could, if whoever designed the sound, if they hadn't cut out, and I know they were trying to do it to make the dialogue intelligible, but if they hadn't cut out the rumble and the bass sound every time someone talked, it'd be so much better for it. For the reason of just being kind of like really dark and kind of like a feel bad set clip, and also for the stupid design choices, I took that one out of rotation. But I did like it, and I did use it for a while.
I've never noticed that, and now I'm going to go back, and you've ruined
Now
that
it's
entire
gonna ruin it for you. It will. It will. Because every time I watch, I'm like, why did they do that?
Darn it! Darn it! What else do I have on that rotation that I use a lot?
Raymond says that his may not be. Well, are you saying I think my setup's pretty dialed in on that. Saying,
I just remember when we would turn on Fury when we were dialing in the theater.
Yeah.
When Adam and Matt were here for a week, we'd lose ourselves in that scene. We'd watch the entire thing instead of just watching a little clip.
Sure.
So
I mean, the sound is really good for what it is. Could have been a little bit better.
Fantastic. Ready Player One. Do you like Ready Player One as a demo?
I really don't, and I never have.
No.
It got so overused. I like the movie, okay, but it got so every single house you went to, they played that clip, and it's not that colorful. It's kind of like muted colors. The sound is fine, like it's fine, but it just wore out for me. That's one clip that wore out its welcome.
I think what ends up happening a lot of times is people hyper focus on the sound, and they totally omit the video. And while yes, there are many clips that have fantastic audio, I think, and the more I do this, the more I encourage others to do the same. To do a really good, memorable demo, you've got to find something that ticks all the boxes. If you're just doing audio, while it's great, it's not as memorable as getting a fully immersive spectacle, which I think our favorites have a tendency to do. Like your Mad Max intro, visually it's stunning, and audibly it's stunning. I know it's not your favorite movie, but Godzilla versus Kong, that whole scene is just visually and audibly is very well done, and it feels like you're in with the monsters. So getting a clip, I think it's really important for people. If you want to wow people, you've got to find clips that do everything. Like think about the Dolby stuff. a lot of times, like if you do the Dolby, what's the one they did towards the end when they were like, people think this is black, but this is black.
Dolby
And
Vision demo.
yeah. And so that it's not only immersive audio wise, it's immersive visually for what they've done. And they've brought in a, I don't know, a much more compelling experience than just doing something audio wise. I mean, even your THX demos, they're interesting video wise with all the stuff flying by and it's
Mm-hmm.
dark and it's got this bright stuff with the stars. There's cool things that happen.
Mm-hmm.
The one of my new favorites, Warhammer 40K, with the dark and the bright blood spraying everywhere, and it's awesome audibly. It's really cool visually. It provides an awesome cinematic experience. You want to tell a story. You want to grab people's attention and pull them in. And I feel like people have a tendency to just focus on one thing. And it's a one show wonder, and it may do that really well, but it kind of falls flat at the end.
You're on point with everything you're saying there. Another reason on that Ready Player One that it's not my favorite is the overhead effect from the Atmos speakers is basically non-present. Like it's a .2 mix at the source. So if you have a traditional receiver with 6 channels, you're only getting two speakers that are playing from the ceiling.
Ryan brings up another good point, and this is something that Jeffrey from Ascendo actually really preaches, in that you need to have some resets, and or you need to start quietly at the beginning and build up. And I'm guilty of not doing this too, because sometimes you want to just hammer people from the beginning, but you need a reset, right? If I'm smelling perfume and cologne and not like smelling the coffee beans, at some point I'm going to become nose blind and I can't tell the difference. So having that reset, having that cleanser does really, really help, because you're increasing the feeling of dynamic range. And that's really important. People just want to hammer the bass and the loudness all the time, which is a lot of fun. But I think it's also important to reset, go back to something else, so that when you play that next loud clip, it's another holy cow moment instead of, oh, this is just like the last one. And it stops becoming memorable.
I agree.
You got any gotchas that you've learned in, aside from your cheating with volume, in the art of the demo?
Yeah, I mean, I do think I particularly tend to put some emotional stuff in there, because like we talked about, it's kind of like the art of the demo. You wanna pull on people's emotions, pull on those heartstrings a little bit, because that's memorable. Make them laugh. I'll put a comedy clip in there that's not even about audio visual, because it will kind of like lighten the mood or create some endorphins and stuff. You know, I've done that with like a Tommy Boy clip, or a can't think of the name right now, but that one where they're models, and it's got Will Ferrell and the dodgeball guy in there. It's just something to make them laugh, because you're trying to. Yes, exactly. Zoolander, when they're in there and he's like, "Are you a girl or a boy?" You know, is the transgender guy. That's a funny clip. I'll put stuff like in there to kind of like just mix it up and have a variety of different clips when I'm showcasing it. I'll have some sort of pull your heartstring music on there. And then you'll have your, just your radical sound output, like Unbroken or something, just, and I think, as we talked about, you want those demo clips to play a little longer than just only the meat, the action meat. Sometimes when you go to someone's house, that's all you see is just the action meat and not any of the story or anything. I think you want the clip to be a little bit longer and kind of pull them in, kind of engage other emotions. And
Got to play the story.
It's much more memorable.
Yes. You got to create a mini story that gives them something to remember instead of just loud noises and bright lights. Like, as an example, with the Batman clip, I had to back it up from where K-Scape had it, because they hit it right when the Batmobile's turning on. Like, that doesn't provide any context. I want to provide a reason. Oh, well, Penguin's going to finish him off because Batman got shot. And then he goes to try and finish him off, and he's not there, and he's in the Batmobile. And then this whole chase breaks loose. So it provides this story for why he's being chased. And it gives context to everything instead of just loud noises and bright lights, which I think is really important. And the demos that I remember at Cedia or at ISE and things do that. The ones that don't do that are not really memorable,
Mhm.
unfortunately.
I think another thing, like I'm not so hard pressed anymore to have like only the best audio and visual type stuff. I will sacrifice some of that some of that front in order to have something that has a very strong like tug. So like I've started playing this Playing for Change Stand By Me clip that's like 320p. I mean, it's just not even that great quality, but it's such a neat thing that it has been in my demo rotation as of late and everybody likes it. It's it's literally a bunch of like street music performers and even maybe just kind of like
Mhm.
people on the street that are playing for change. I mean, that's what it is. They have them all sing the Stand By Me song solo, and then they group it all together like by mixing the tracks and overlay everyone together, and it's phenomenal. I played that at the Ascendo booth at M-Wave, where I asked them to play it, and it made me cry in there. Like it's like it, even though it's crappy video, even though it's recorded like 30 years ago or 20 years ago or whatever, it was just so well done. You see all those guys that are just like real humble people that have incredible music talent, and they're all overlaid into one, and it's just like wow, you know. So incorporate you can incorporate something like that and really kind of go outside the norm and make a lot of impact on your people that are listening.
I agree. You got to bring in and pull on the heartstrings. Emotion is something that is forgotten about a lot of times, except excitement and oohs and ahs when you're getting into these demos. And that's not the only emotion we have. And I think we have a tendency as people to remember a lot better some of the other emotions we have and not the excitement ones,
Hmm.
sad moments, or the ones that really start to tug on things that make you think or uh,
Hmm.
do things other than be excited. I don't really remember those very much.
Hmm.
What, on a change of topic, are there any demos that you've seen, not necessarily just in your room, that you go, I don't know that I would have chosen that?
Yeah, sure, of course. When especially when we used to do those crawls, because you're just going in people's random rooms and they're showing you stuff they like, and sometimes you learn a lot of new clips that like I've figured out some clips that I liked from those, and there's also been some times where it's like, hmm. So occasionally
Hmm.
you'd get someone that would show something that was a little off color or perhaps a little risque, and you'd kind of think like, all right, this is mixed company, that's a little weird, you know, like that would be my example of things that I would try to avoid in a mixed setting because you don't know who's in there or what their sensibilities are. So I
Yeah.
try to stay away from stuff like that.
Trying to think if I can't even really remember any. I know I've
Oh,
been in that situation where it was a little uncomfortable, but maybe that's how they were trying to make me feel. I don't know. I
I,
didn't
there
ask
has, I've
questions.
never been in a room where like it was like I need to leave because this is so
No,
not like
un-
that.
unless Jonathan saw Fury in the theater and saw the bass cutting
It's
out
got
for the
close with that
dialogue.
Godzilla versus Kong stuff. But I haven't quite walked out yet. So any scary move demos? MW says yes. I used to play Pulse a lot. Have you ever seen that clip with the server room? It's
Mm-mm.
very intense. There's a low bass sweep that's up and down and up and down, and there's like some sort of demon that starts screaming. And SVS used that. What's the doll movie? They use that clip to great effect in their demo.
Chucky?
No, it's a female Annabelle, I think.
Oh,
Which I haven't even seen that movie, but that clip is kind of terrifying. And
I
they
haven't
use that
seen
one at M.
Annabelle. I haven't seen that. Trying to think if there's any.
Quiet Place is in that vein, if
Yeah, but
not
they said a
more.
quiet aside from Quiet Place.
Okay.
I don't know. Horror and scary movies don't really come into demos very often.
The horror movies sometimes take a little bit of setup unless you're just going to do something grotesque that kind of grosses you out, right? Don't you kind of need a little bit of the build up rather than just jump right in unless you're just doing like chop them up type stuff?
Yeah, maybe. I don't typically watch a scary movie or horror and go, that'd be a great demo.
No, I actually do kind of agree with you because I think it needs to sort of be an upbeat thing that
A Quiet Place walks that line, though.
leaves you feeling satiated at the end and not depressed or downhearted.
Yeah. I don't have any other good clips.
Yeah,
I mean, I
oops, sorry,
do, but
that wouldn't work very well.
not remembering them. Some good suggestions in the chat, though. There's some
A
good
lot of
demos in there. I think we've done most of these, and we've put them through, like they've come through my room and stuff that I've used.
Adele's always good.
Yeah. She does have good stuff. Should we answer questions? There's been 2 questions. Nobody
War of
wants
the
to ask
Worlds.
questions.
Maybe we'll go to that in a minute, but War of the Worlds, do you use that one? That's a fantastic one, in my opinion.
The correct disc, the Blu-ray disc, not the 4K,
Yeah.
because it was remastered and they took that
All the
bass stuff
up
out.
20 hertz stuff out.
Yeah.
What I think there's obviously the pod emergence scene is fantastic on that one and has been a staple. And I use that for many, many, many years. And sometimes I still bring it up. In fact, at one of the M waves, I brought that up and somebody said, that's my favorite clip in your room. And I thought, what in the world? That's like 20 years old, but it still holds up well. But there's a plane crash scene where they're in the basement.
What's up with you and plane crashes?
Well, that's a good scene. So it doesn't show the plane crash. They're in the basement and they hear the audio of a plane crashing and it crashes outside and there's all kinds of flashing and the window blows out and it's just so loud with the explosion of the plane crashing. And then like this goes to silence and the little girl goes, "Are we dead?" Like it's almost ends on like kind of a little laugh. It's a great scene. That's one well worth having in your demo clips. And the lightning strike with Tom Cruise at the beginning, at kind of near the beginning, when he says lightning never strikes the same place twice or whatever, and it keeps striking the same place, and it's super loud. You put that up to reference, it's a lot of fun. Deep bass filled lightning, which shouldn't really have sound, but it does. In fact, they say where's the thunder? There's no thunder, but every lightning strike is like so powerful in the theater at reference. So it's kind of,
yeah. I haven't watched War of the Worlds in a long time. I need to go back and rewatch that. Yeah, I've watched Battlefield Earth more than War of the Worlds.
That's sad.
That is. That is. All right, questions. If you guys have them, feel free to put them in chat. Should we talk about what movie we want to watch next? Please, not Battlefield Earth 2, if there was one. Give these guys some time to put questions in chat. Alien Romulus.
Yeah, that's fine. I think that was when we talked about I hadn't seen it yet. So
let's watch that. I haven't seen it. Alien Romulus. Okay. Because I've been meaning to watch that and haven't watched it. Maybe I'll watch it this weekend.
That looks like a little party foul from one June Lee saying with the Hacksaw Ridge and the yeah. So Charles says The Knowing, is that the one? That's the one with the plane crash, right? The famous scene of the plane crash.
Another plane crash.
It's a really good scene.
Plane crashes.
That's the movie I'm thinking of.
Plane crashes.
Nicolas Cage, is that right, Charles? Are you talking about the Nicolas Cage movie?
It'll take him a while because the chat's delayed. I don't know, but you and plane crashes.
They're intense.
Says yes.
They're really intense. It's something you can relate to. Yeah, that scene and the Knowing.
How many people relate to plane crashes?
The fear of such.
Oh, I'm like, Jonathan, is there something we need to know?
No, the fear of plane crashes. It's a primal fear.
Okay. Note to self.
See, the audience is on board with that. Yeah,
one person.
A plane crash in a commercial airline would be pretty terrifying. No doubt.
Probably be dead. Probably be,
Edge of Tomorrow is excellent. Excellent demo material. And not just the little intro that everyone always tries to play, but the whole movie is good for that.
All right. Let's get into some questions. Marvin Abugov. Abugov. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing that. What is your experience with Epson projectors arriving DOA? I'm asking because my brand new QB1000 came that way last week. Dealer distributor are getting a replacement.
Bummer.
I mean, it happens. It's a piece of electronics. Sometimes shipping guy goes, oops, or they kick it, falls off the back of a truck. I don't know. That doesn't necessarily have to happen that bad. But things break. They get QA'd, break after it. They're not trying to do it intentionally. It's just things are getting more sophisticated and things break.
You have a pretty good track record on your Epsons you sell?
Yeah. I mean, let's look at the projectors in a whole. I mean, every manufacturer has had failures. It just happens. DOA, I've never had that happen with an Epson. Now, dust blobs, dead pixels, weird lines, sure. But never had a DOA. Doesn't mean they won't happen. Sorry that happened to you, but that's, I wouldn't hold that against them. It just happens, and it seems like your dealer distributor's getting it taken care of. So,
yeah, make sure you don't let them send you a refurb. Get a new one. If it was dead out of the box, you should get a replacement new one, not a refurb.
I agree. Carly Timble. I think I'm going down the rabbit hole. Get a 4400H versus an 8500H. What does sound any different? Separate amps, thanks. That's quite the difference there. The 4400H is old.
Yeah, but it's still not a bad unit. So what is that?
No, but I'm saying that's quite the price difference between a 4400H and an 8500H.
Where are you seeing price difference? He didn't say that.
I know. I'm just thinking from the units themselves.
Well, because the 8500 is discontinued. It's probably a used deal, right?
Well, yeah, maybe.
4400H. When did that come out? Looking it up here.
That would have been
2018. So it's not that old.
That's 7 years.
It doesn't feel that old. Was that? I'm trying to think if that would have had a pre-pro mode or not on that generation. I'm looking at a review to see if I can find it in quick order.
If they both have pre-outs, I'm going to say there's no acoustic difference.
Not audible. There will be a measurement difference, but not audible difference.
Now, power difference?
Well, if he's using external amps, it won't make the matter.
It won't matter.
And if he's using internal amps, it probably won't matter either, because the difference in power, as we've talked about before, 50 watts of power makes like very little difference in the actual output. It's like an extra dB or dB and a half. Remember, it takes a doubling of power is 3 dB. And
what would you do in that situation?
6 dB. Well, I mean, there's probably some functionality that gets added from a 4400, right, to an 8500. You got 2 speaker outputs on the 8500 more at least. Is it 11 versus 13? Maybe
it's 9.2 amplified on the 4400.
But does it do 11 processing on the 4400 or just 9? A lot of times, Dan will let you do 2 more than it has amplification for.
I don't know.
Actually, I'm looking at this review on StereoNet. Just happenstance, first thing that came up. And it doesn't say anything about processing 11. So I think the 8500, doesn't it process 13?
Yes.
So you might get 4 more channels out of it. You'd probably get a newer version of the HDMI chip. Well, I don't know. I'm not going to say that. I'm not sure, actually.
You gain, depending on the version of the 8500, HDMI 2.1.
It looks like it supports the Odyssey Multi-EQ editor app. So it's still, I mean, it's still a modern unit as far as that goes. The 4400.
It's not antiquated too horribly, but depending on the price difference, if it's low enough, I would just go to the 8500. You're going to get more. And if you ever decide to resell it, the 8500 is going to retain more of its value than the 4400 will. Anything to add there?
I think it just depends on the price. Like if he already
Yeah,
owns a 4400 and they want $1,000 to 8500, I'd just stay with the 4400. But if he, I mean, the 4400 was 2900 MSRP. It says, and we know from audio, from ASR that the like all these things measure better than human hearing. So unless you
hmm
need the extra bells and whistles or the extra channel count, I'm not sure you're going to be gaining a whole lot. I don't think the amplifier capability, internal amp, is going to make a whole lot of difference for you. But the 8500 might last longer because it's a Japan made unit, and the lower ones like the 4400 are made in Vietnam or Taiwan or wherever else. They're not made in Japan. And there is a little bit of, you know, a little bit of logic to that. Supposedly things made in Japan factories are a little bit higher quality, use better caps. They use, just a little bit higher quality manufacturing. So if you wanted to keep it for 20 years, maybe that might be a point to consider. I don't know. I don't buy that and think that you're going to hear some sort of angels singing as soon as you hook up the 8500, because that's not how that's going to work.
Certainly not. Paul A, super chat. Thanks for the $5, man. Much appreciated. Never required. Bought my first projector, NZ700. Had it a few weeks and noticed a stuck pixel. Can only see it up close. What do you
Hey,
do?
at least yours works, man. The other guy was DOA.
That is true.
No, just get rid of it. You don't have to have a stuck pixel, unless they have some sort of policy that they allow for it. Do they? Is there a no tolerance for stuck pixel rule?
Pretty sure. And
Yeah.
it's advanced
Send that back.
replacement on the first unit or on the first year.
And it's what?
Advanced replacement on the first year.
So they ship it while you still have your other one?
Yep.
Nice.
Tell your dealer I'd want a new one. If that were me, I'd want a new one. I wouldn't tolerate a stuck pixel. When you get into projectors, they're too easy to see, right? Everything's bigger. When I'm on a little display, maybe.
Even then,
Even then, you can absolutely notice.
MW says wipe it on the projector screen. You might get rid of it.
Maybe. I would let your dealer know.
There are, and I don't know how lucky you'll be. I've had luck with it with LCD monitors. I don't know if LCOS responds to that very well, but there are like pixel shifter things that are meant to reduce or eliminate a stuck pixel. You could try one of those. You'd have to leave it on overnight or something to see what happens, but it might be worth your try to see if that goes away.
Maybe. But I would contact my place of purchase and get a new one. Absolutely.
Paul, see if you can find that and link it for us or tell us where that is. Your tolerated amount of stuck pixels, because that's cruddy. If that's the case, that's cruddy.
I've never had that from JVC. Tell your dealer. If your dealer won't help you, contact me. I'll get you taken care of. Or at least try to. Finster. Wondering if front wide speakers need to be full range towers like the front LCR, or can they be smaller like the side or rear surrounds? Not sure level of content they are required to handle. I mean, your LCRs don't even need to be full range.
Right. That's what your subs are for.
Now, if you're doing something like art, full range helps. But in the majority of setups, no. As long as the crossover can get low enough to integrate well with your subwoofers, you'll be fine.
I think actually that's sometimes favorable, and I've mentioned so much as that on ABS forum, where like, if you get a nice quality bookshelf and you can get it in every position, that's pretty ideal. Like there's nothing wrong with that at all. You would use the same crossover point for all your speakers, which would help make sure everything stays uniform as the sound pans around the room with like a sound object and Dolby Atmos or DTS:X. It's not a bad way to go. Now, if you got real small tiny little bookshelves with like a 3.5-inch woofer all the way around, maybe you don't want to do that. But if you're in a smaller home theater room and a 6.5-inch driver is going to be fine, and you have that in every position, nothing wrong with that.
No, not at all. So the answer to your question, Finster, is no, they do not need to be full range. Your LCRs don't even need to be full range. You want subs, and then integrate those speakers with the subwoofers. But on the flip side of that, the speakers cannot be so small that you're just going to run into distortion from trying to get low enough to integrate with your subwoofers.
Mm-hmm.
And they'll run out of gas at higher SPL.
Mm-hmm.
So normal bookshelves or surround speakers, typically fine. Larger woofers help, but you'd be fine. Good question, though. Paul A. John, this is specific for you. How do you paint your subs, and what connectors do you use?
I don't paint them. They're still just they're still unfixed. I'm going to probably carpet those. Are you talking about my normal boxes?
I think
And
he's
they,
talking about your normal boxes.
no, those are wood veneer, so they're not painted. They're veneered, and they were done by a cabinet shop that sold them to me. So I didn't do those.
Don't reinvent the wheel. Sometimes it's better to pay a professional to do it for you. That's
What
my
connectors do I
my
use?
advice.
So on my 21-inch boxes, I have big, huge speaker binding posts. And same thing here on these boxes. A lot of pro audio cabs use like XLR. Either way is fine. XLR is basically just another way of using speaker binding posts that you can't get the wires crossed and blow up your amp. So
Speak on.
yeah.
Even better.
Wait, I said XLR. I meant speak on. Sorry,
Oh, yeah.
that's brain fart. Speak
The
on.
Speak on locks, and it's
Yes.
awesome.
Yeah, speak on connector. I see people and they message me on occasion with this kind of question. Like, I have speak on, how do I wire that? It's nothing more than just a regular set of wires. It's just connected inside. And literally the only purpose of a speak on is so that you can't accidentally touch when you got a live signal to it. You can't actually touch the two wires. Like, it will not let you short it out. So that's why Pro Audio uses it. So you don't end up blowing a 2000 watt amp or something when you
Well, and
short.
they lock in, they don't fall out, and they're just
Yep.
better in
Yep.
every way.
Yep. Speak on's correct.
They're awesome. Do it. It's worth it.
I do not recommend banana plugs for your subs if someone was thinking about that. And I just had a conversation with someone this week that was doing that. And the reason I say that is because the vibration can loosen over time and has. I've used banana plugs on my front row and has loosened the connection over time. And then it's like shorting out and the amplifier is shutting off and stuff. And I've never blown an amp with it, but a friend of mine, Andrew, has. And he said he's never going to use banana plugs again for that reason.
Don't
And
blame him.
because I had an issue where mine actually did pop out and was kind of shorting out the amp. I I got rid of the banana plugs and just wire it in, smash the binding post down the copper wire. You don't have to worry about that coming loose. For a speaker, it probably doesn't matter. For subs, don't do it.
Agreed. I don't even know that I'd use them on speakers. I always feel like when I move a speaker or something, the odds of you ripping a banana plug off or something just go up, way up. Maybe that's just me being dumb. I don't know. But you're right. Anyway, next question. MW says subs in the front of the room or subs in the back for tactile bass, or doesn't matter.
It absolutely matters, but we can't answer that without having measurements for your room because, like, modes and nulls, like we've talked about before, absolutely exist, and they're all placement specific, related to your listening position, related to your placement against the walls, the boundary interactions, and so front or rear for tactile, you can exchange your word tactile for SPL because in this particular case, the higher SPL, like if you have a mode or something that you're generating, it's going to be louder in that position. And that's not really something we can predict just uniformly for all rooms.
Not even just front and back, but low or high can also have a significant difference.
Mm-hmm.
Much larger than you think. The room that I'm currently working on, we had to do a bunch of REW simulations. And in order to get the best frequency response, we have 4 of the subs up by the ceiling. And it helped dramatically to fix the response because the room is a square almost.
Mm-hmm.
And it allowed us to overcome a lot of room modes in doing that. So don't restrict yourself just to the floor. It can make a huge difference changing the elevation of those subs as well with how they interact with modes.
MW, if you want tactile, just go near field, man. It's like a big game changer, I think. So
And it simplifies things.
when that driver's, a few inches away from the back of the chair and it's moving, you can feel that physical acoustic energy coming off the driver. And you feel it right in your back. It vibrates the chair frame. It's like way more. I've said this before. I'll say it again in case you have missed it. When I was first figuring out how I was going to lay out my subs on my room, I had 8 18s, right? And one of the things I was playing with was one of the ones near field behind me. And when I was playing with the music and movies and just like auditioning things, I had 7 of my 18s up front and 1 behind my chair. And the 1 behind my chair produced more tactile feedback than all 7 up front. So like if I turned off the 7 and I turned off the 1 and I was playing back and forth, that single 18 right behind the chair made more bass in my room to me in my listening position than the 7 up front. So that puts it in perspective. Like it's a big difference. So near field's the way to go if you want that.
He speaks words of wisdom. Chris Ramsey. This is actually one that I think people may disagree on. He asks, how many movies do you think are mastered to have frequencies below 15 hertz?
It's not very many, sadly, but there are some. What's the name of that thread? Do you remember?
EEQ?
Maybe, but that's more targeted on like sending the different parametric EQ out for the different movies. There's like a base movie thread where they're measuring it. I can't remember the name of the thread, but it's on AVS forum, and there's one on database, or used to be. I'll try to find it and give you the title in a second. And anyway, in that thread, they have cataloged like basically objectively cataloged all these movies, and they give you like a star rating for how much bass is in there and what frequencies are in there. Here it is. The ultimate list of bass in movies with frequency charts is the name of the thread, and it's an old thread. It was created in 2017, and it's got 1,500 pages. So again, I'll say it out loud. Google search this, and you'll find it. It's on AVS forum. The ultimate list of bass in movies with frequency charts, and then it has a list of like all the movies, and it's up to date. Like they have stuff from just recently in here. I can put it in private chat, and you can put it on the stream if you want.
Well, I can actually echo that. I've got a measurement mic in my room with a spectrograph, and there's some energy in some movies that gets down below it. The most that I've seen of any of my stuff of the demo clips is Fury and Imagine Dragons are the two that have the most low frequency energy of the ones that I've seen through the Experience Center so far. Most of the ones that people think that get down really low, like a lot of people think that Ready Player One gets super low, and it doesn't. And I can say that because I've measured it. So what I think people think is low is somewhere between 20 some hertz, and getting down into the single digits, there's very, very few that get down that low. Way less than people think. Is there any notable one for you, Jonathan, that you know of?
Yeah, I mean, there's some that surprise you. I think we've had this conversation on one of our podcasts before too, where when you get a bunch of sealed subs in your room and you haven't been exposed to that before, there are clips that you're used to that sound dramatically different when the infrasonic is happening. And it's not even so much sound, it's feel dramatically different, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
So one that comes to mind is like the X-Men First Class, when they're on that scene at the beach at the end and they're pointing the missiles and so forth. There's a vibration that's happening as those missiles are in the sky. As is it what's the guy's name? Magneto? Is that what it is?
Mm-hmm.
He's controlling the missiles and he's like re-aiming them so they'll fire back at the ships. Any rate, as he's doing that, there's all kinds of really intense low SPL, low frequency effect that's there that you just wouldn't even get with like a ported sub because it's just below the high pass filter. The drivers are jumping out of their skin. You don't hear it so much as feel it. You know, your clothes are moving and your lungs are feeling it and your hair's feeling it. And it's a really cool scene. So that's one that comes to mind. And like when I had ported subs that were 2 to 20 hertz, I didn't even know that existed. I'd watched that clip a bunch of times. It wasn't until I got my full set of sealed subs that I realized there was something there I was just completely missing.
Yep.
Incredible Hulk has some really low frequency stuff. Some of it's just novelty things that you would never really even necessarily care about or notice. It might only be in a movie once or twice, but the Incredible Hulk has some fighting scenes at the end between the Abomination and the Hulk where they're like just smashing each other into the ground, and he kicks him in the building right before that scene as they're smashing it. It's like super low frequencies in there. Black Hawk Down has a helicopter scene with like 7 hertz. That's just the rotor wash is like 7 hertz and it's real low. That's stuff you don't ever hear, but you can sure feel it. So unfortunately, that stuff is not in very many movies, but it is out there.
Good question. Oh, there was a super chat, so we'll get to that one first. John Durant with the $9.99. Acoustically treating my front wall What is the closest you recommend putting my LCRs and subs to the screen? It depends on the screen material. Perf, you have to be further away than woven. But it's really, I want to say it's X wavelengths. So it depends on the frequency. Do you remember, Jonathan? I can't remember off the top of my head what that is.
No. Thank you, John, for the super chat. First off, I would tell you this, that if you're making like a baffle wall and so forth, you don't even have to have it in front. I guess you're saying, is he saying acoustically treating my front wall was the closest you recommend putting my LCRs and subs to the screen? Okay, so it's not talking about the wall at all. He's talking about how close can it be to the screen.
Mm-hmm.
I think the screen manufacturers have and this is kind of a dumb answer, but I'm pretty sure they have a little standard of what they recommend, like 18 inches for some of the perf screens. Acoustic transparent, like woven fabric, you can be pretty much right up against it, I think, in my just general recommendation. But the perf screens require a little more distance.
I can't remember what it is. One of the guys that knows more about it than I do would know, but there is a number of wavelengths that you should be away from it. So it depends on the frequency. And that's why attenuation, I mean, I'm not going to dive into this more than I know. I'll just say, Google it. It's probably the best way to do it. Matthew Pose may have done. Why am I still blurry? I think it keeps picking up my microphone. Matthew Pose may have done a thing on this particular question, but I would encourage you to Google it because I don't know the exact answer. Sounds like Jonathan is Googling it.
I'm going to take a look and see if I can find it in short order. Stuart microperf distance from screen to speaker. So Stuart themselves say a minimum of 12 inches for best performance. That doesn't tell you like a maximum, but it does. Stuart themselves say 12.
There you go. And you can be closer than that. You're just compromising.
Closer to the fabric, the comb filtering will occur, it says. And comb filtering, in my opinion, in my experience, is a lot of times overrated. Like it's made out to be a worse effect than it truly is to our ears. Measurable effect, yes. Audible effect, not as much, perhaps, unless it's really bad. And so here's an AVS forum thread where they're saying 14 inches on the same stuff, but it's not. I mean, Stuart says 12. So in that ballpark, you'll be fine.
Yeah. Don't have a good answer for that. 12 inches, but I would encourage you, John, to do some research. Woojun Lee asks, so ordered an NV Extreme 2, this to pair with an LS 12,000. Is it too much of a mismatch? Should I consider going with an NV Core and upgrade the projector instead? I don't think it's a mismatch.
No, in fact, if you want to describe what happened at M-Wave 2022 with the
come on.
with the LS 12,000 and an NV, that was an interesting little experiment.
So in M-Wave in 22, we did side-by-side projector comparisons on 250-inch screens, and we put the LS 12,000 against the NZ9. This was both when they first launched, and without envy, NZ9 crushed the LS 12,000. And this is with the public in attendance out front. Crushed the LS 12,000. You put the envy on the LS 12,000, it switched. The LS 12,000 became the unanimous winner over the NZ9.
Unanimous might be a strong word, but by show of hands, it was the majority winner.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The contrast kind of stopped mattering at that point because of what the processing was doing. So I don't think it's overkill. Maybe I'm biased. Transparency, I do work for MadVR. So, but I don't think it is. Jonathan, I don't think you think it is.
No, I was on the side that thought the LS 12,000 with the MadVR was the better setup. but I'm not sure. I might be remembering wrong. I thought it might have been the NZ8 and not the NZ9 that we compared, but maybe it was NZ9. I'd have to go back and look. It's 3 years ago. I'm not sure I remember exactly. At any rate, the
That's in the
NZ8 and
NCAA.
NZ9 are like just sort of siblings to each other anyway, so it wouldn't make much difference at the end of the day.
Yeah. You're going to gain motion AI, geometry correction, 8K up conversion doesn't matter. But motion AI in and of itself, in my opinion, worth it. Now, obviously, worth it depends on the person um, monetarily, but I don't think it's a mismatch. The Envy is going to outlast the projector, and if you upgrade the projector later, you still got the Envy.
John, who had the question about the projector screen and distance, has a follow-up question here. How thick should the treatments be on that front wall? I have 26 inches between screen and wall. So you have 26 inches. Is that going to give you your 12 inches you need from the front of the speaker to the screen? And then as far as your treatments, I was in a room once, and I've talked about this on the podcast before, that had 12 inches of ripped jeans in like heavy bags that was hanging from the front of their theater. And I really liked that. So you can't go wrong with that. I've been in plenty of rooms that use like pink fluffy up in the front, and those are what, 18 inches wide or something, or 16 inches wide. And so it's just stacked up there, 16 inches deep. And that works great. So
Depends on what you're trying to do and what things you're trying to overcome. Every
mhm,
room is different, and you need to figure out what are you trying to accomplish by doing this front baffle? What are you trying to absorb? What are you trying to stop?
mhm,
Because the absorption is also going to impact the spur, the SBIR of the speaker. The reflections coming off of it are going to be absorbed instead of reflected, depending on how thick you make the treatment wall or the absorption wall, baffle wall, if I could talk. So it just depends. Everything's going to be a compromise. Nothing is free.
I'm kind of the mindset, John, that this is something you should play with and try. And if you, like Ryan Kramer says, if you just stuff it full of like rock wool or pink fluffy or something, if you think it's too dead up front, you can always do like wood stripping, like fur stripping up there, and just kind of like give it back some.
What speakers are these, by the way? We ever established that?
He hasn't said yet. Yeah, so Paul says ripped jeans and heavy bags. I don't know if they were heavy bags. I mean, that's what it reminded me of. They were basically like hanging heavy bags if you think of like a kickboxing sport or UFC type stuff. But they were ripped jeans is a material you can get. It really doesn't even matter what material you use. It's what he had used, and that was what his front soundstage was those type of things. And you have similar in your rear of your room, right, Ryan? Like you have
Mm,
almost like heavy bags hanging in there with some
yeah,
sort of in them.
yeah. It's Dynamat with R38 on it, and they hang from the ceiling. There's a
Mhm.
bunch of
And
them.
yours are not in a uniform line. Yours are kind of like
They're
sporadically.
angled. Yep, yep. That is true. I'd want to know. I mean, I'd probably do 12 inches at least for the baffle, and then if you've got in-room speakers, put them out in front of it. Uh, Ryan Kramer brings up a good point. Doing your waterfall, doing a checking
RT6.
your decay times for RT60 is
You
also
can
really important.
you can Google RT60 on ABS Forum. You'll find a thread that will give you that and kind of like give you some guidance on what's good. I honestly think though that ultimately best case scenario you go visit some rooms and see what you like, because different rooms that you'll go in the community in your area, if you can get on ABS Forum and find some like meetup threads and so forth and go visit some rooms, see if you like a dead front and live back, or if you like a little bit more dead overall, because what you do might change based on what your own preferences are.
Yep, good point. He says he's got JBL HDI 3800s and 4 Seaton 18s.
Hmm.
So they're in-room speakers.
HDI 3800, how deep are those?
They're towers, aren't they?
They are.
I would do a 12-inch baffle and put the speaker in front of them, personally.
Yeah, and like I said, if you do that, it's not expensive to do that. That kind of material is pretty cheap, especially if you do like common insulation, pink fluffy or rock wool or something. You can cover it up with some velvet or with something that would be Guilford of Maine, some sort of speaker cloth if you want to have a little bit more acoustic freedom. And if you think that's too dead, it's nothing more than buying some like 1x2s and just kind of layering them in there to change the acoustic. And it's just a matter of playing and see what you like. Like if you want to get it right to your ear, tinker, because you can ask. We always say this: you can ask six acousticians, and you'll get six different answers of what's right. So there isn't so much a right or wrong, but there is preferences, and so you
It's an
got to
art
find
form.
yours. Yeah,
Everybody's going to have a different artistic preference, if you will. So I would do 12 inches, maybe a little bit more if you want to recess the speakers into the baffle, and then give yourself some leeway for the screen so that the wave can materialize as much as possible before it hits the screen. Good question, though. White Glove Review says, what $700 amp would you recommend to power LCR so I can go from 722 to 724? $700 3-channel.
I don't think you need to spend that much on amplifier, personally speaking. But if you do, I think the used market for Emotiva, or even maybe I don't know what their new prices are, but for years and years and years, you could buy a $350 to $500 or $600 Emotiva 3-channel. It'd be like a couple hundred watts a channel. Those are good, solid amps. They'll last 30 years. That's not a bad way to go as far as that goes.
I'd agree. Or if you want to go new, go Buckeye. I
Mm-hmm.
think you can get a
choice as well.
4-channel HypeX for not too much more than that. But there's a lot. Anything's going to work. It comes down to how much power you need, what the sensitivity of your speakers are for how much of a noise floor you're going to be able to tolerate on the amplifier, how much power you need from the amplifier, that kind of stuff. So there's no one size fits all answer to that question. Heck, you could even go with, if you want to buy new, the Behringer A800s that I ran in my room for a number of years. Those did decently well.
Are they still $250 a piece or so?
I think they've gotten a little more expensive. I think they're 300 or something now, but they did great.
Yeah. There's if you're not afraid of used, I mean, I'm not sure what your scope is here, but if you're not afraid of used, there's a Crown XLS 202 that you can usually get for about $100, and that'll be a couple hundred watts a channel, and you just need a couple of them. So you're at that point, you're only looking at like $200 or $300 for a couple of them used, and those are 30-year amps too. They're not going to be pretty, but they're a pro amp, but they'll do what they say they're going to do, and they'll last forever. And they're above the audible threshold of where your hearing will be, so it doesn't matter anyway as far as that goes. Now it might have a little bit of a fan noise, but you can, if you want, you can swap out for a PC fan that'll be quieter. Noctua fan is the go-to fan for that kind of stuff.
The only thing to worry about with those amps is noise floor, depending on the speaker, that is. Sometimes you can hear the hiss if the speaker's more sensitive. That just depends. We're running out of questions, so if you guys got them, put them in, because when we run out, we're going to close shop. Oops,
Brian,
sorry, says... Whoop.
1 second, we skipped one unless you got it marked. Brian Cobb said, did you guys get a chance to use MadVR with the Epson at this recent shootout?
I'm getting there.
Okay.
I was just encouraging people to ask questions.
Go ahead, sorry.
Oops, sorry, says, do you guys do BEQ? What are your opinions? Do you, Jonathan?
I don't. I've experimented with a little bit, but not in my own room. Just Sheldon has showed it to me, and I didn't fall in love with it.
Sheldon doesn't use it anymore either, does he?
He quit using it. He said that it ended up being where he would get too many weird anomalies in movies, and that's the exact reason that I didn't fall in love with it, is because stuff that didn't make sense was happening with the subs. And so, like, we talked about earlier how things are real spare. All of a sudden, it's not sparing. Those low frequencies are everywhere when you BEQ, and oftentimes it seems unintentional.
You're a sound engineer. You're a sound engineer. You're a sound engineer. You're a sound engineer. It's just, I got an opinion. I'm a sound engineer.
And I'll give you a real precise example on that. And Sheldon always uses this as kind of a little fun demo, but it just really broke everything for me. In one of the X-Men movies, Magneto is putting on his hat, his helmet, that keeps Charles out. There's nothing happening in the scene that should be low bass. He puts on his hat, and you're sitting on. Sheldon's got this like kind of over the top setup for bass tactile thing. He's got hover bosses and hover easy and stuff, and you're sitting there literally. I'm not kidding. You're literally doing this in his room as he puts the helmet on, and there's nothing visually that would cue in that should be happening. And it's that kind of stuff, like more often than it should be, that broke BEQ for me. Especially if you have sealed subs that are capable of creating that real low frequency, because I think a lot of times that stuff's not actually intentionally in the mix. Like it doesn't match what's happening on screen.
Yeah.
And I've said it 6 different ways, the same thing, but you get the idea.
Yep. I agree. Good question. Brian Cobb, did you get a chance to use MadVR with the Epson at the shootout? Would it have won over a few more people that sided with the JVC? So I think he's talking about the comparison we did.
Mm-hmm.
We did not use MadVR. I don't remember what the reason was. There really wasn't a reason. I think it was just because we wanted to see the projectors in their native environment.
Well, and we discussed that there would have to be different settings with MadVR for the luminance and so forth settings, the net settings.
You'd have to do the peak luminance for each projector in order to showcase them correctly and fairly. So,
well, there's some people that you'll never win over with that because they want black, 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 black. Like they're obsessive over that.
And that's okay.
Fine. Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that. That's perfectly fine.
So what you're probably talking about is the MadVR could potentially reduce highlight clipping, which really wasn't a problem with the Epson. It did a pretty good job, except for on the pink or the orange hair clip. It messed that one up a little bit. But like the Spears and Munsell disc, it did really good on highlight clipping.
The hard thing about highlight clipping is you don't know what you don't know. So you don't know if it's clipping because the JVC clips too. So it's
JVC was clipping worse than the Epson.
Yeah, it typically does
with internal. But what the MadVR won't fix on the Epson is, of course, the black floor, right? Because it's got an LCD technology type black floor, contrast ratio 2500, 30,000 to 1. And to be fair, the Epson already ripped those details up out of the black floor pretty well. Like think about the 1917 staircase scene, how much it elevated that darkness.
Mm-hmm.
The MadVR does that kind of thing to whatever degree you subjectively want, but it'll raise detail out of the black floor to make it more visible. And that LS12000 that we did in 2022 didn't do that on its own, but the QL7000 did do that on its own. And so MadVR might be useful for other purposes, like the aspect ratio changes or the motion or whatever else that you wanted to play with it, but maybe not as much for tone mapping as historically.
I think it would make a difference in the tone mapping, but definitely not as much as it did in the 22 comparison, right? That was a big difference. This one, Epson's tone mapping has definitely gotten better. Absolutely.
And different than the QB1000. I mean, the QL series has a definitely different tone mapping.
It is. And Brian, I think to answer your question, in my honest opinion, is people are culminations of their own experiences, right? What you are used to, what your status quo is what you're going to potentially more than often like, right? The guys, what I found, the people that have JVCs like the JVCs, the people that have Epsons or other projectors that aren't all about the native black floor or the contrast liked the other stuff. They liked the brightness. So I think it just comes down to what you're used to. Now, I will say, Jonathan, I told you this. I've got a modified lens coming, so we'll see how I feel about that.
And Vader, is Vader a public information yet?
No.
Okay.
Do
you have a sample of it though? Are you playing with it, or was that
Vader?
just you sent me a screenshot? Was that your?
Oh, that was at CinemaCon.
Okay.
That was at CinemaCon. So that was them showcasing the commercial stuff of what's coming to commercial cinema for all of the current generation CineLife projectors. So it was super cool. Like it made a huge difference. They're talking about taking your contrast from, in that case, 2001 to 60,000 to 1.
Wow.
And they're talking about your native black floor, like your black floor becoming JVC-esque is where it's putting it. And your colors.
Put content on screen, does that go away? Sort of like EBL,
No.
Valerian?
No, like they were showing a what was it, like 100 nit clip, and the black floor was noticeably different, like hugely different, and the colors were the exact same luminance.
Mm-hmm.
So they're modulating the lasers to the point where they're getting rid of the black floor, but all the colors are staying the same.
I'll be interested to see it.
It was super cool. So hopefully it comes to residential. I'm hopeful, but who knows? Yeah, commercial. It's a commercial thing. I can only dream. Ah. So you ever use next question? The angry liberal. You ever use home theater PC Mad VR? Is it worth the hassle? That depends on who you ask. I have grown out of being my own tech support. The more I've been in this, the more I used to run a NAS and do my own thing. Now I'm all about that Kaleidoscape. Uh, some people will say, well, that's too expensive, but I like my kid being able to go, hey, I want to watch this, and I know it's going to work. So it just depends on what you want to do and what you value. And some people may say, well, my NAS is perfectly stable, and that's great. I'm over troubleshooting my own stuff. So in my case, I would go Mad VR Envy. But if you're just trying to get the tone mapping and you've got a bunch of ripped content, home theater PC Mad VR, maybe right up your alley. Did you used to use that, Jonathan, or have you ever used it?
I still have it. I still use it on occasion. When I'm doing JRiver, it has it integrated, or MPC BE64 has it integrated. Yes, I mean it's worth using.
It does make a difference.
It's worth using. A lot of my clips end up being, for better or worse, still 1080p because I ripped them myself off my collection back there. So I don't. A lot of my clips, it won't make any difference because
That's true.
MadVR is specifically using for HDR tone mapping.
Yeah, the home theater PC works really well. It's still maintained by Matchy. It's kind of a beta test program for the Envy, for the home theater, not the home theater, but the tone mapping stuff. It's really good. It does what it's supposed to. Good question. Arid says front wide's half distance or half angle between front and side channels. I hear both. Chernoff guys say half distance, while most guys say half angle. I'd go half distance. Wouldn't you?
Well, how does that end up being that different? I'm not thinking this very clearly, I guess.
I don't even know what he means by half angle.
So if your left is here and your surround is here, then your wide is it split the distance or is it splitting the angle? Wouldn't that be the same thing? How does that end up being different in a symmetrical room?
You have a good point. I don't know. Maybe we're just too dumb to know.
Rod, you're asking the wrong guys. We're a bunch of monkeys here. We don't understand what you're saying.
I mean, I can't even maintain my own hair, so who knows?
Got maths questions.
I would put it halfway between my front.
I'm using Dolby angles.
Yeah.
Distance wise, is it the same? Mine probably is a little bit further forward. Probably a little bit further forward than splitting the distance. So maybe I'm an angles guy without even knowing that question ever existed. But I'm on the mark with Dolby's recommended guides for angles. It's pretty close either way. It's not like it wouldn't be more than a little bit off on either one of those two times of things.
I'm seeing if I can find the angles.
Anthony says just follow what Trinoff recommends.
I'm still scrolling. This is a long list.
Angles closer to the side channel. Wait a minute. You said angles closer to wide, and then you said angles closer to side channel.
So Dolby says in a 9.1.2 that it should be between 70 and 50 degrees of the main viewing position.
134. Man, yeah, so mine are much closer. Mine are much closer to the fronts by distance.
But given the angle, so the angle, it shows that they should be closer to the wides or to the surrounds. Going by the Dolby guidelines. The 50 degrees is going to put it somewhere between, and this is with this room. Well, no, it's not.
That's kind of angles is going to depend on your listening position.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Position will, yeah. They say between 70 and 50 degrees.
For front wides?
Yeah, that's what they say.
70 degrees? That
Yeah.
seems like way too much. Think
I
about
agree.
that. That's almost 90.
I
That's
agree.
side.
I agree, but that's what they say.
No.
Yes.
Are you looking at Dolby site?
Yes, I'm in their home theater speaker setup guide right now. Here, go here. Go to page 50.
Pull it up on your screen.
Oh, you want me to just put it up? Okay,
let's
hold on.
share it with the audience here. So 50 to 70, you're right. I see what you're saying. It's been a while since I looked at it. Let me get my little tool here.
There you go. Right, yeah. 50 to 70 degrees.
So we've talked about this before. This is how I did mine. I just go with the Dolby guide, man. That's what I do because it's going to be.
You don't even agree with the Dolby guide.
50 degrees is a lot different than 70 degrees. Do you see this thing? A little laser deal. So what I do is I put this on my main listening position where my head would be. And you aim it
I
right.
just go by what the Dolby guide says. So says the guy that thinks the Dolby guide is wrong.
I set this up in 2014. It's been years ago. Okay, so then you turn this, like if I wanted to go 50 degrees, this is like you set that on top of your seat, you don't change it. So it's at 0. You turn this to 50 degrees here. And because that was at 0, when you turn on the laser is pointing on your wall where 50 degrees is, and that's where you mount your speaker. So that's how I set my room up. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah. Pretty straightforward if you have it in your hand and look at it. Maybe it's not clear on the thing. But like here's 0 degrees. If I put this on my seat back, can you see that over there?
Yeah.
Here, let's do this.
No, we can see it.
I'll put on the thing as if I'm doing it. So here's 0 degrees. That'd be like I would put this on my chair back, and that's 0 degrees. And then I just turn the laser to where it says 50, which is right here. And wherever that's pointing, I can't even see where it went. Wherever that's pointing, that's where you put the speaker. Boom, you got your 50 degrees. Easy peasy.
I got to go look at where mine are now.
As soon as you move your seats forward or backwards, that's all changes anyway.
Oh, yeah.
So mine's probably not 50 degrees anymore anyway. I'm not even sure it was 50 degrees at the time. That doesn't sound right to me. I did it in 2014. Maybe they changed it with the Atmos spec or something.
Everybody says Trinnov guide greater than Dolby guide.
I don't believe that.
I don't know.
Maybe for Trinnov guide is better for Trinnov equipment. Maybe that makes sense.
Good question.
Bruce Barnes says, "Stop wandering off. You're not on the microphone anymore."
Margaret Wood.
I was doing science.
He was doing this for you guys, and you're throwing him under the bus. You're disparaging him.
What is this? Come on now.
Margaret Wood. So my room is 19 by 13 feet. Do you guys think the tone winner sub 4000s will be okay? I want 4 of them.
12-inch subs.
Sub 6000s.
I don't buy 4 12-inch subs for $1,000 each.
That's how much those subs are?
Shake my jowl a little more. I just looked it up.
Bring them up. Bring them up.
Okay. I can't. I'm not an admin anymore. I got kicked off. You bring them up.
I did not kick you off. You kicked yourself off.
Can't do nothing anymore. Lowly peon on this.
This was all your plan. All part of your plan. $1,100 for that ported sub.
For 12s. No, not good. And that maybe he's got a deal or something. Maybe he's got a importer price or something.
What are the sub 6,000s?
Yeah. So Ryan Kramer mentioned today, he sent a text message that there are in our area, actually, there's 2 JTR 4000s on sale for $6,000 from a guy named Reddig on AVS Forum. Is local.
That's a good price.
That's a good price, especially with the tariff increase and stuff that they've got. Or I'm not even sure they've announced their tariff increase, but the prices went up at the end of the year anyway.
So Tone Winner SWD 6000 is 15 inches for $1,500.
15 for 1,500. I mean, at that point, I'm recommending an HSU. At that point, it's cheaper and it has a better name than Tone Winner. I mean, like Tone Winner is probably rebranding something they got, but I'm looking at those drivers. They don't have a big beefy surround. I'm not really sure what you're getting there. I'm going to go with HSU because they've been around a long time, and I know what kind of quality product you're getting with them. At that, if you're going new and you want that same price range,
hold on.
HSU is what, $200?
Big Jack, I don't know which one's better. I have no idea. I'd have to go test stuff. All I know is my room's good. That's all I got. And Jonathan's room sucks. And if he's using the Dolby spec, then Dolby spec is wrong. I don't know. I'm kidding. Jonathan's room doesn't suck. But we have no idea. I mean, to really objectively know, you would have to be able to put... Okay, there is one place that I know that could do this, and that's Adam Pelt's room. Because all of his speakers are on movable like mounts, and you can slide them. They're all on like track systems. I need to go there. It's gonna be awesome.
Now, here's what I'd say: who invented the standard? It wasn't Trinoff. You're gonna tell Dolby Atmos that they were wrong on their own?
It was probably some guy that just did it all in headphones. I don't know. Oh, you're talking about the comments? Well, obviously the comments are wrong.
Yeah, I mean, to me, Trinoff is like an also ran. Like, hey, you know, like they might have their own little featured shop and be premier stuff, but they're not Dolby.
I mean, they're both going to be.
Dolby made the technology, so.
But I think they're both going to be down to subjectivity of which one.
I mean, if Trinoff changes it dramatically because of their implementation to match their implementation, so be it. But I this is like kind of almost a little bit of a pet peeve from years and years of this stuff. When people like this, hey, this little small tiny company compared to like the behemoth that Dolby is, knows how to do it better than Dolby. Like, get out of here. That's not.
Well, I think what it comes down to is you do what you subjectively prefer. It doesn't really matter if you constrain to the guidelines, if you prefer not being in the guideline more. That's what I tell people all the time with Mad VR, right? It's a box of choices. You have choices. Do what you choose to do, not what he told me to do it. I've got to suffer and just, this is how my room's going to be because that's what Dolby said.
Mm-hmm.
No. Do what you want to do. What makes you happy? What do you prefer? If it's your wide behind you, so be it. Don't do that. Anyway.
Brian Fellers is talking about that Tone Winner sub, and they do have a nice little pre-pro that a lot of people like on AVS Forum. It's bare bones, but it's inexpensive for how many channels you get. Mm-hmm. So it is kind of a little bit surprising that their sub is like not inexpensive class for what it is. I mean, $12 for $1,100 is not cheap. So
but how much is an SVS 12?
Well, I'd probably in that same ballpark, but it's an SVS 12. I mean, like, which one's going to have a higher resale? We talk about that kind of stuff every once in a while. SVS is going to have a higher resale than Tone Winner. I mean, Tone Winner is kind of 5 years ago. Tone Winner was unheard of. They're an upstart. Like, they're probably someone, as best we can tell, that's like creating things for other products and like letting other products label under their manufacturing capability. And so they're probably just kind of creating their own and coming out of with their own name brand, which is fine. But I don't know that Tone Winner has what's the right word? It wouldn't have the brand recognition that all these other companies have, or even the history of it. Yeah.
So, yeah, they're the same price as an SVS. The cabinets actually look very similar. The whole thing looks very similar.
So the Tone Winner has like that angled, the cambered front end, right? SVS doesn't have that, does it?
No,
Unless
I
they have
don't.
a new
I
model.
closed the Tone Winner. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know, man. You at that point you're really truly in like HSU territory, and HSU is a really good product for the money, and it's going to be a 15 instead of a 12, for the same kind of money.
I agree.
Like, yeah. And Monolith, from Monoprice. That would be another alternative he could consider, because a lot
That's
of
true.
times don't those kind of end up going down there? And heck, for that matter, we've talked about it before. The Clip 16-inch, isn't
Yes,
that like 900
especially if you
bucks?
can get it on sale.
900 bucks
Thing's
on
a
sale or something?
monster if you can get, but it's enormous. It's not small. But any of those, the 1400, I think the 1400 was like $700 recently or something.
Or
Something insane.
maybe is it Margaret? Maybe he's joining us from overseas,
Maybe.
so maybe those options aren't available to him, and Tone Winner is the option that's available to him.
Maybe. I think if you're in the US, there's better options. If you're somewhere else, I have no idea.
Yeah.
I need to know the locale and what you have available to know what the best choice would be.
Yeah.
Are there any other comments that I need to address? There was one about Barco that I missed. Where did that go? I thought I answered or did something with it, and then here we go. Blake Riddick, Farb, says, would a Barco, MadVR, or Novistar processor best when using a JVC simulation projector in a home theater application need 2x2 mosaic image or 4x2 1080p to get 4K image? Oh dear. Novistar. MadVR won't do it, and will Barcode do it?
I feel like is it Blake that's hitting us kind of every week on this?
I don't know. This projector keeps coming up.
It's either Blake or there was like some sort of closeout, and there's multiple people that bought these things.
I don't know.
But it's the one that we've looked this up several times. It has like DVI inputs, and you have to use spread across multiple DVI inputs.
Yeah.
MadVR is not going to do that. Period. I don't know if Barco does that. I have no idea.
I don't know. Novistar definitely will. You got to get the right processor. But
get rid of that thing, man. You bought yourself a headache if you you can't use it if you don't know what processor to use. That's if it has Blake, if you haven't figured it out, we don't know that question. I don't know if it's even you, but we've been hit with this several times in the last few weeks.
Yeah.
Laugh.
Maybe his name is Farb because it's parenthesis Farb.
Yeah.
Maybe. Oh, here's one right up your alley, Jonathan, because we've talked about this.
Before, Anthony says, how do you know Margaret's not a woman? Because we have no women watching our show. Like, I have YouTube statistics, 0.
Maybe I'm a woman.
There's not a woman within 50 feet of a PC when our show's on. Like, they just don't.
How far away is your wife?
She doesn't even watch our show anymore.
Oh, she gave up. She's like, gosh, Ryan's still there? I don't want to watch that. Woojun Lee. This is totally a Jonathan question. 110-inch Hisense versus an LS 12,000 with a MadVR.
I'm not buying a big TV unless it's OLED. That's my thought. Like, I don't really even like those Hisense.
I got really excited about that post today with the plasma, and then Bob's like, that would have been so much better if it wasn't on April Fool's. Oh
yeah. They're talking about big, huge plasmas coming back from Pioneer.
I got so excited, and then Bob punched me.
Yeah, no, I know there are people that like those big Hisense TVs. I've seen them a few times, and I'm not a fan. I see blooming and color shift on the panels, and I'm not a big fan. So I'm going to go with LS 12,000 in that instance, or a QB 1000, or whatever you can afford. In that regard, or whatever. I'm going to go with almost any projector that's in that.
He's saying LS 12,000 plus the MadVR Extreme every day of the week. That's going to destroy it.
How much does that Hisense cost? In that,
I don't think it's cheap. It's expensive. It's like 20 grand.
Yeah, I mean, maybe I just haven't seen particularly good ones, but I mean, there was a couple of them in the M wave the last few years, and they didn't
No,
knock
this
my
one's
socks off.
different. But I would take the LS12000 the Mad. I care about the audio too much. And once you go with an acoustically transparent screen, there's no going back. I was on the fence about it for a long time, and now that I've got it, there's no going back. You're going to have to give me a lot to overcome that. Lee says 15,000 for that TV. I'm going to choose the LS12000 because the Mad VR can stay with the next display. Even if you upgrade to a TV later, the Mad VR is still going to be there to make it better.
Yeah, I don't jump on a TV yet, man. In my opinion, until OLED gets there, and I think it's coming. It's just not there yet. I think you'll be kind of if you're a videophile snob, you'll be a little disappointed with that TV. I think.
Big Jack 79 says, have you all seen the JVC 500 in person yet? If so, how is it?
I've not. I'm looking forward to it. But we did see the NZ900 last weekend.
It's really good. And the 500 has better native and ANSI than the 900 measured.
Wild.
It's crazy.
Wild.
Crazy. Sheldon has one.
I'm going over there.
Super happy with
this
it.
weekend, so I will see one then. Is his projector still acting up, or is it back?
No,
to
we
normal?
got it exchanged.
Okay, good.
So he's good. He is good. He's super happy with it. I think he's much happier with it than his NZ7 than he had.
Which is wild too.
Yeah. It's a great for the money. It's a fantastic projector. I think value-wise, it's potentially the best value.
So maybe one dude should be thinking about that instead of the LS12000. Now that that's a new player on the market. I mean, the LS12000 is a nice projector, but it's 3 years old, and this JVC is, by all accounts, knocking it out of the park.
You are losing 4K 120. So there's that. You have
no frame interpolation.
No frame interpolation.
They killed 3D on it, I think.
You're going to have a worse throw than the Epson. The Epson's throw is best in everything until you get ones with custom lenses. So I'm going to say, instead of it being, let me retract what I said. Instead of it being the best, it depends on the situation on which one is going to be better for you. Say that.
Yeah, I mean, everything I've heard about the NZ500 is it's like
it's great,
unreasonably good projector for the.
And I will say that I had 4 of them delivered today. If anybody needs one, I was trying to beat the tariffs.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
So Bruce Barnes asks, is that the same as the NP5? No. The NZ500 is a new laser projector, and the NP5 was the last outgoing bulb projector.
Yes. The NZ500, I believe, is better in every way, with the exception of losing 4K 120 and frame interpolation, than the MP5. It's really good. I got 4 of them. If anybody needs them, hit me up.
Did you beat the tariffs? Are the tariffs even announced yet on JVC?
Well, we're on that 90-day hold now.
So maybe they won't even come.
Maybe they won't.
Those are made in Japan now, I think, right? And Japan, I think, will probably be a 0 tariff.
But we don't know. So it was just kind of, well, I'm just going to buy some. They haven't been stock, and we sell them anyway. So it's just if anybody needs one.
Where are Epson projectors made? They got that big fat tariff bump.
Well, I don't know if it's going into effect now because everything got put on hold. So who knows? I don't know. Nobody knows.
I thought China's stuff wasn't put on hold. Didn't he jump theirs to 125%?
It did, but I don't know if that impacts Epson, because Epson put that in place right after the big one, the unannounced one, hit last week that he said was going in over the weekend, and then it got put on hold. So I have no idea. No idea. But I got 4 Epsons coming as well. So
QB1000s or LS12000s?
They're LS12000s. So if anybody needs a NZ500 or a LS12000, shameless plug for me.
Both good.
Ryan says Japan and Epson went back down. There you go. I just haven't
seen Japan for the Epson. Is that
both Japan? I guess.
Okay,
and that makes sense. That makes sense. There was another question. Oh, Arad says he's poking the front wide sync on or off. I don't know what that is. Do you know what that is?
No, but there's something like that on Dennett and Marantz that's like, it's not front wide sync, but it's like, what's it called? It's some sort of setting to make a wider
It
sound
like
stage.
expands the sound stage. I
Yeah,
would not use that.
I don't like using that either. But I don't know
It,
what he's talking about specifically in that particular name.
yeah, I don't know either, but that would be my guess. That makes more sense.
145, Anthony said. I heard 125. That's even higher.
I gave up trying to track everything.
I mean, they're just at this point like in auction mode. 145, 160,
Do
160,
I hear
175.
170? Oh, we're back down to 105 and 190, and it's just, God,
Yeah.
I don't even know. Don't even
Right.
know.
Yeah.
But good question. I wouldn't use it, Arid. I think if you're after that and you want a wider soundstage, treat the room. Stop trying to use technology to fix it. Treat the room. Doing dispersion and dealing with your reflections and doing it in the analog is going to give you a much better and natural result than trying to anchor and use those speakers. Alvaro says, did you have a chance to check out HDR by Barco at CinemaCon? Yes. So I saw Vader, the Samsung Onyx, which is their video wall, their cinema video wall, and HDR by Barco. The HDR by Barco, they weren't doing a side-by-side comparison, so I really don't have a way to tell you what I thought or think about it because I don't have a reference point. So I don't know what it was like without it and what it was like with it, if you know what I mean. We talk about references all the time, and I don't have a way to do it. The one thing I will say, the differences between the technology is with Christie, it works with all, supposedly, the current generation projectors, right? So the Cine Life projectors, it works in there. If it's current generation, it's just a software upgrade. The HDR by Barco, I think it needs an entirely new physical unit, like a totally new projector. So there's a pretty big difference there. But I think we're going to hopefully see it in May at Barry Woods if it's out and deployed by then. At least that's the hope. We don't have a movie choice yet. I hope it's out or deployed. So Alvaro, sorry, I don't really have a good way to say that. I don't have a comparison. I have no idea. It was good. Seemed to do what it was supposed to do. But I didn't have a reference.
Did you notice on that big projector shootout they had last weekend that the Sony did pretty well in that one compared to the kind of the thoughts on the Sony and the one we did with the flagships? That was kind of
I did
interesting.
hear that. I
What
don't
do you think of that?
know. I don't know. I wasn't there. So I haven't seen a video. I haven't seen anything.
I mean, they were talking about how sharp the Sony was, and that wasn't the case. And we'll talk about this on maybe the next podcast when Bob is back, but that wasn't necessarily the case with what we saw on
I
our
didn't
units.
notice any sharpness issues. I noticed crushing is where I
Yeah.
saw the issues.
Well, and not even that there was like there wasn't anything wrong or right about the sharpness that the Sony had that I saw on the unit that we used. It was like it was just middle, like didn't stand out, didn't fall on its face. But they were talking about at that one last weekend, what at the screening room or whatever, that they thought the Sony was extremely sharp compared to the other ones, like noticeably more detailed. And we didn't. We played with the sharpness settings on that Sony. We didn't. We didn't experience that or
I
see it.
don't know. I'd
Just
have to
curious.
see a video and I'd have to be there in person. I talked to Sammy Prescott about it a little bit, but I don't to pass judgment, I'd have to be there. I don't know, unfortunately. Ask Sammy, ask Chris in the AVS thread about the screening room. No. Lee asks another question. I already have the LS 12,000, so looking at either the NZ 800 and an NV Core or just going to NV Extreme. Ooh. What would you do? LS 12,000 in Extreme or NZ 800 in Core?
I haven't seen the NZ800, but if if the contrast numbers that were, and this is not even like, it seems weird to say, but if the contrast numbers on the NZ700 are in par with the NZ500, you probably want to consider the NZ700 over the NZ800, right? Because the NZ800 and NZ900 have that traditional 250 to 1 type interesting contrast. And the NZ500, and maybe I haven't seen any stats on it, but maybe the NZ700 have more like a 500 to 1 interesting contrast. That's a big deal. Like, it's noticeably different. And so, they have a different chassis, a different type of technology, the way they're doing it. Make sure and look into that before you consider going to NZ800. So that's what I'll say about that, is that you very well might be better off with NZ700.
Or depending on the screen size, just going with an NZ500, depending on what he needs.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because doing an NZ500, if you have a smaller screen, you're not after 4K 120.
Mm-hmm.
With an Envy core,
Mm-hmm.
it could be pretty good. It'd save you some coin. So I encourage people, I see this all the time on AVS. Everybody's after the best objective technology and gear. It's not all about the gear. Your experience is only going to be as good as the room. If your room has a ton of reflections, or the screen is enormous and you've got too dim of a projector or too bright of a projector that you can't get dim enough for a smaller screen, or a high gain screen with a really bright, so on and so forth, you're going to have a bad time. You need to get equipment that complements the room. Don't just get something because it's recommended as the best. You need to get what's best for your situation. And that goes for everything: screens, speakers, displays, whatever. So in this case, you'd have to know more about the room for us to make a really educated decision on what we think would be the best for your money.
And the other thing is, he's talking around a $20,000 outlay right here, basically, right?
Mm-hmm.
In that ballpark for the NZ800 and the core. So if he's talking about that kind of outlay, does the QL enter the conversation without a magnet to get that extra brightness?
Potential, depending on the screen size, that is absolutely a potential option. Like if it's an enormous screen, yes.
And
we
because
saw that at Ryan's.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about that a little bit earlier in the podcast. The QL series has pretty decent tone mapping in and of its own.
Better.
And so if you want 6,000 lumens instead of 3,000 lumens, it might be worth even considering that.
And one other thing we noticed that everybody commented on, how sharp the Epson lens was.
Super sharp. Like
super sharp.
Yeah.
And you get the cool commercial things like turning off E-shift so that you can focus in 1080p. That was cool.
Which was fantastic.
That was great.
Really well.
Yeah, that was great. So, Lee, and anybody else in chat, if you guys have any questions, they're not answered here, or have any further questions, feel free to shoot me an email. It should be down in the subscription. I know it's a shameless plug, but I
really think in that scenario, I might personally be looking at the QL 3000.
Ooh!
Like if you're looking at spending, the 15 to 20 grand area.
Oh, I thought you meant you were looking at the QL 3000.
Oh no, that's out of my league. I would like.
You just have to hate yourself for a little bit.
That QL 7000 made an impression on me in my room, and I'm sure we'll talk about it in the next stream when we have Bob on here. But like, that's not something that you forget very easily. And I'm like, dang it.
Bob will laugh when you say that, and he'll go, "I'm not alone." He'll love that. Brightness, guys, it's more important than people think, especially with HDR. Those spectral highlights, that derpy frog and cricket. Oh man, that scene was just magnificent.
Yeah,
that freaking cricket. That I still remember the pause on the derpy cricket.
They don't know what you're talking about, so they're thinking like, "What is wrong with him?" Yeah.
It was Planet Earth, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Just
a funny little close up on a cricket.
Man, but the visuals and the sharpness and it was dang.
Yeah, and
Just
every time it turned on. Now we're gonna steal our thunder here, but every time that QL 7000 turned on, and in a room of NZ 800 or NZ 900 rather, and the Sony Bravia 9, the second the QL 7000 turned on, it was like you heard the oohs and ahs. The crowd was like,
and I
"Whoa,
mentioned that in my post on that comparison that the QL 7000 was the only one that got audible visceral reactions when it turned on.
and most times too, like it
Oh, every time.
through the night." Yeah,
Even Ryan's wife commented on it.
yeah. I mean, it's 3 times brighter than the other ones, and it's notably so. It's pretty cool. I say it's akin to like looking into a bonfire at night. How you can't hardly pull your eyes away. Like if you're sitting in front of even a campfire. You're at a campfire at night and you're just staring at the fire and you're kind of mesmerized. That's what that QL 7000 does. It's
It
so
does.
bright you can't hardly look away.
It does. Now
It's
the
pretty cool.
QL 3000 I think is
6,000 lumens versus 10,000
but
lumens
I think it's $16,000 if I remember right.
in that ballpark.
In that around 15,000. I'd have to look at my price
And then you
sheet.
got to buy a lens, but the lenses aren't terribly expensive, right? Because you said his lens was 1,500 new, and we talked about it before.
It depends on the lens, but yeah.
You can buy them used because it's the commercial line lenses
Yep.
they've had forever.
Yep.
So they're all over eBay as little as like 300, 350 bucks. And then you're just talking like the lens at that point is not, it's inconsequential with the price of the projector.
Yep. Yep. And then the QL 7000 is 30,000. But it's right up there with all the other flagships, NZ900, the Sony. So Woo John Lee actually says, we've been on him for a while. He says that his screen is actually 120 inches, full light control.
Yeah, but he
800.
also says a little higher that he games at 4K 120.
Never mind.
Gaming on the JVC wasn't very fun for me, man. I had the RS 2100 for 3 years, and the motion is not. There are people who say it's fine and great and no problem, and they're not as picky as I am because I didn't really like gaming on the.
What would you do then? If he's considering the NZ800 with a MadVR core, what would you? He's got an LS 12,000.
I'd be doing a QL, I think, man. With that budget, I think that's where I'd land.
On a 120-inch screen, you think you'd go with a QL 3000?
I played that QL 7000 on 116 here, and I loved
Did you
it.
go full on?
Oh yes. That's why I'm saying it's memorable.
Oh my gosh, Jonathan is ruined.
It was
Oh, so you turned it all the way up.
So at 16 by 9, I'm at 116, and I'm CinemaScope 144. So it was 100% laser at 16 by 9, a 116-inch screen, and it was a thing of glory.
Oh yeah, it is.
I mean, it's something you can't hardly forget it.
No,
Like it's not like I don't necessarily agree that you can't stand not having it because I've been watching my LS 12,000 since, and I still enjoy it, but I do think it's a little bit more like wah wah when you turn it on and you're kind of like, well, I remember how this was a week ago.
I mean, if you think that, I mean, I'm all on board. I watch at 300 nits every day of the week.
Mm-hmm.
That's my normal, and it is. There ain't no going back. Every time I turn that thing on for a demo, and the first thing that comes on is the Kaleidoscape video wall, people are just immediately go, holy crap.
Yeah.
Like it looks like with the ANSI and the brightness that it's a huge TV. So when you get to that certain brightness, the screen disappears.
Yes.
It's just overwhelmed by color.
Tim came over on Friday night before the shootout and spent the evening comparing. No, I corrected myself. Spent the evening comparing that with me. And we both said, this is like the best TV we've ever seen.
Yeah.
Like, because it's so bright.
Yeah.
And it was like the focus on that QL 7000 was like so dang sharp.
It's really good.
It was amazing. I mean, it was mesmerizing. It was really, really something.
It's really good. So if that's in the cards, Lee, Jonathan may be right. QL 3000. And I saw you mention a comment of how loud is the fan noise.
It's quiet.
For what it does, they are unbelievably quiet. Now you turn them all the way up, you can hear the fan, but for the amount of light that it's putting out, unbelievably quiet. It's no louder than the JVC.
I think it's like 31 dB or something like that for the QL 7000 at 10,000 lumens. It's even with all three of those flagships in the Ryan's room,
They
it
weren't
wasn't
that
that loud.
loud.
No,
No.
even with all three of them running at the same time.
Would you say it's any louder than your LS 12,000?
No, I don't think it was.
Yeah. And that's at full bore.
Right. Like 4 times brighter than my LS 12,000. Maybe more.
If it's in the cards, Lee, the QLs, they're really good. Now, full disclosure, you are sacrificing some native contrast over the LS 12,000. No question.
And even more over the JVC.
You're probably going to sacrifice a little bit of color volume.
I don't think that's that imperative because
no,
I really don't. I think it's chasing into the wind sometimes with that kind of stuff.
No. Brian Kramer says it was actually quieter than the LS 12,000.
That wouldn't surprise me. I think the LS 12,000 is supposed to be like 33 or 34, and the QL 7000 is like 31.
It's quite a feat of engineering what they were able to do. I mean, it's a really good projector. I was not expecting that. It's good. Bobby Digital says, what was the outcome of the MadVR versus Lumigen shootout? They actually didn't really do one. I don't know if Sammy talks about it in the screening room thread. I would encourage you to read it. He mentioned something to me that I don't think they really did it. But you'd have to read that thread. I don't remember exactly why. But feel also free to reach out to Sammy.
I think we had a couple super chats. Thank you, Wondron, for and I'm probably messing up your name, but thank you for the super chat. That was nice of you.
Yeah, much appreciated.
Another one, and it might have been, we might not have acknowledged it, but we were talking to the guy, so thank you for that one. I think it was a $5 one earlier. Do you remember who set that in there? It was it was another one from one June. And I wish we could. Sometimes I wish we could get these guys on the call. We've talked about that. Maybe we should. The only problem is you don't know who you're getting and how it will work. But I have the ability with my mixing board to hook it up to Bluetooth. I could feed that into the computer super easily, and we could take calls. Bluetooth link my phone to the soundboard, feed it into the computer, and have like a little party line here where we take your questions live.
We'd have to have somebody screen them.
Well, there's only us. We don't have any.
We're just going to fly by the seat of our pants and see how things turn out.
We have no delay. Somebody gets on here and has Tourette's, and then we get demonetized and taken off YouTube.
We'd probably I'd get us demonetized anyway. I don't know. Oh, well. Okay. I think we've reached the end of our questions, unless I'm missing anything. No. Great questions, though.
Hey, we're just basically stole all the thunder. If Bob was here, we could talk about this more, but I do want to address MW's comment here. There was a YouTube video comparing the QL3000 and the NZ8, and the Epson looks so much better. Here's what we noticed in comparing these things over in Ryan's room the couple nights before the get together. If you have something that's like 2 or 3 times brighter than the other thing, and they're side by side, your eye is drawn to the brighter one, period, dot, end of story.
Well, you're also destroying the native contrast of the one that has the better contrast.
True. At any rate, that's why we ended up at our flagship shootout just doing one at a time, because if you had them side by side, it was like no contest. And it not only did it draw your eye, but the whites looked dingy and dirty on the less brightness one. It just, something that looks good by itself, like the Sony or JVC, when it's compared to a 10,000 nit image immediately next to it, looks like crud. I mean, just crud.
By itself,
looks really good.
On a smaller screen, that NZ900 is a really good projector.
I agree with all of that, too.
Really good. And it is going to kick the snot out of the QL when it comes to dark scenes. I mean, there's no comparison. The native contrast is just astronomically better. So depends on the content. But in my case, what I would choose,
look at that. There's a lot of truth to what Anthony just said, and it made me laugh. You can come in my house if I don't know you, but you can't get on our YouTube channel.
That's true. That is true. We're talking about, well, are we going to get demonetized? And I've got people just hanging out, staying the night. I don't even know them until they come to my door. Yeah, well,
Yeah.
I'll get murdered in real life, but you destroy social media and I'm up in arms.
Good point, Anthony. You're right. Touche.
Oh, well. That is a good point. Good point. Okay, so next week, Alien Romulus. I'm excited about it. Anything is better than Battlefield Earth. We're going to talk about, hopefully, the comparison a little bit more, get Bob's into his opinion on everything. Anything else? Did I miss anything else about next week?
No, we're good.
Okay. Okay. Oh. Another question. This is the last one, but it's on the topic of high output projectors. Would you go 178 inch at 200 lumens, the biggest possible screen for the room, or 135 screen at 300 lumens? 178.
We might part ways on this one. And I say that not even for the brightness, but I don't like feet in the screen, and you don't mind it. So, like, to me, make sure your feet aren't in the screen as you recline. And to Ryan,
Don't care.
He has a foot fetish, so he's like, everyone take off your socks.
Jonathan comes over and I stare at his feet.
In my 70,000 lumen projector, I'd like to see your feet in all their glory. That's what Ryan says.
I mean, I sit 9 feet from a 165. So I'm all about immersion and mine's floor to ceiling, wall to wall. So bigger's better. And I've yet to have somebody say the screen was too big. If you could keep your feet out of the screen when you say bigger's better,
Bigger's better.
You take the 200 lumens 178 over the 135 at 300.
We always have these little caveats, but the shaky cam stuff makes it so bigger isn't always better, but that's rare. That's not the biggest majority of content in movies. But shaky cam still bothers me, even at my size, and I'm sure it would bother me at your size.
It does bother me. Bruce Barnes says, technically, that's a 135-foot screen. He is right.
And you can have such a thing as too big, but neither one of us are there.
No.
So, like, if you go to a big commercial theater and you sit in the front row, most people would say that's too big. I think it's too big. So there is such a thing as too big.
You'd be 11 feet from a 178. I think that's appropriate.
Yeah, that's about what Sheldon has, and it's great.
It's fantastic. Okay. Well, that's where we close up. Thanks for joining us, ladies and gentlemen. We will have Bob back next week. I'll have my HDMI fiasco that I'm going through with Jason Dustle next week. We're watching Alien Romulus, and we're going to talk about projectors more and hear about your guys' opinions and why you're all wrong and we're all right. I do not mean that. We're probably wrong a lot more than you guys are. So anyway, have a great weekend, everybody. Jonathan, last call.
Nothing for me.
Okay.
Thanks.
Have a great weekend. Stay safe out there, and we will see you guys next week. See you in the next one.